Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to the Friday night edition of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always glad to have you all here. It looks so dark in here today. It looks dark. That's okay. That's okay. We're going to roll with this anyways. Patricia Monna is here. Unfortunately, she's a Calgary Flames fan, so she doesn't know what winning is like in hockey. But we'll get her through that. It's okay. We'll get her through that. Missing people tonight. It's going to be good. You're going to like this one. You really are going to like this one, I promise you. Let's say hello to everybody in the chat room. We have Race Fan in the gold medal position. Kitty Caddywag with a silver. Robert Lamoth with a bronze medal tonight. Hi there, Road Flare. Shannon Coho, or Caho. What is that? Hold on, is that an A? That's an A. Shannon Caho, welcome to SOR Chat. Don't forget to hit subscribe because we're like here 7 days a week. And moving on, we got the hippie Deidre from Vancouver Island. She's wearing her Birkenstocks in any weather condition. Good to see you. Kelly Chapman, welcome to SOR Chat. Ethanol, Lee the Bee. Little Timmy James. How you doing, buddy? Mama Catherine. Mwah! I love you, my dear. I hope you had a wonderful day, and it's going to be a great weekend for you. I can feel it. Jeremy Jones, Eternity Eternal. Frankie B, how you doing? Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived so we can officially start this show. Little Cam over on YouTube. To warm up for tonight's show, he bench pressed 840 pounds 16 times in 35 seconds. His arms are jacked tonight. Mel WD-40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want that rigidness, so he lubes us up each and every night. Thank you, Mel, for taking care of us. Deanna Ann is here. Deanna Ann will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Cosmic Joe, how are you? Human Carl is here, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. Thank you for your service, Human Carl. We love you around here. JSCO, Thomas Rock, good to see you. Flat 6 is back. Flat 6 will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Nikki in Seattle, D Cypher, Mexi97, good to see you all. Hi, John Jackson, Cat's Tongue, Lisa Smith, and Lightwalkers. Good to have you all here. Scrolling on down, we say hello to Karen in the Woo Train. I did get your message, Karen. Yennefer with a soft J. How you doing? Blick74, been a while. Good to have you back as we continue on with our roll call. Phineas over on X. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Hi, see how we are living. Dave Tiger Williams, he'll drop the gloves for you. And in the studio, nice to see you. Algaray over on Twitch, ran 4.5 miles, made 2,000 calories disappear just to warm up for tonight's show. Thank you for the exercise. I'm tired after reading that. Rain, how are you? Good to see you. Tim Mothman and his goatee, two separate entities. Constadina, how you doing? Welcome to SOR Chat from Colorado Springs. Cielo, how are you? Larry Bonds, the Home Run King. Jay Truthseeker. Tracy Winters, Operation Shutdown. Good to see you. The lovely and talented Laura Elizabeth. Good to have you back. Scrolling on down, there's Walter Kochabinski. Good to see you. Jessica McCreary. She has gorgeous hair, by the way. She really does. And Digger Dog. Good to have you all here. And let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for joining us. Patricia Monna is here. Disappearing people who vanished without a trace. We're going to get into that here momentarily. We are on roll call on our YouTube side. Poor Taste, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget the Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can wear our stuff out in public and actually be proud to wear it to more places than a garage sale or a flea market. It's that nice. I'm wearing one right now. My ULP shirt, Unidentified Lighting Phenomena. Conversations with Spirit, Blue Cruise. How you guys doing? Thank you very much for showing up. We are going to have a great show tonight. I am pumped up for this one, even though she's a Calgary Flames fan. But that's okay. Throw those horns up, everybody. Let's rock. Mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out the bubble. Read the news wire. Check out our site as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a power show of weird and high strangeness tonight. Patricia Monna is going to talk about people who just vanish into thin air. Yeah, she's a remote viewer. We're going to get to her momentarily. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller is here for another spooky story. Sweet Robbie G will join me in the final hour. We're going to review all the UFO stuff that happened this past week. Yeah, it's been a heavy week. Let's get right to it. Patricia Monna is an internationally known psychic medium, remote viewer, and ordained minister. Patricia has dedicated her time and expertise to local and international law enforcement agencies from around the world to help locate missing persons and bring closure to victims of homicide, kidnapping, and unexplained disappearances. In addition to locating missing persons, Patricia teaches remote viewing and psychic development, guided transcendental meditations, and consults privately with clients around the globe. As an ordained minister, Patricia's guidance and healing meditations will deepen your spiritual contact and assist you on your healing journey. Boy, I need new glasses. Totally need new glasses. Let's bring her on. Patricia Monna, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm glad you're here because one of the things that totally intrigues me, besides all of us being weirdos, is people who just vanish. There, when you break it down, and how I got interested in this subject, and we'll get into this throughout the show, was a former mentor and frequent guest of mine, gentleman by the name of Butch Witkowski. The first show I ever did with him about 9.5 years ago, we did a story on not cattle mutilations, but human mutilations. And during that show, he told me a statistic that has stuck with me, that every year in the United States, about 1.3 million people disappear, vanish. And after the FBI, excludes and it goes through their investigation, whether it's murder, whether it's people just running away, whether it's kidnappings, whether it's people just moving without telling anybody, whatever that case may be, He said there are 60,000 people that are unaccounted for, that they cannot figure out what happened to them. And if you rewind to the 1950s and you believe the President Eisenhower story that he traded humans for technology,
Hmm.
that was alleged that he said in that agreement that 60,000 Americans could be taken every year.
Wow.
So that has always stuck with me.
So the cases that I've worked on, they don't just vanish into thin air. It usually is murder, suicide, kidnapping. Um, there's usually a story to it. So I haven't worked on any um, that I saw any abductions or Bigfoot coming and getting them. I have, personally, I haven't worked on anything like that. It's been um, legitimate missing person cases where we usually find them deceased. I've only worked on one case where a person was found alive, and it was actually my very first case that I ever did.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, but usually by the time I get called in, it's past the 72 hours, or you know what I mean, or it's a cold case. I'm really good at looking at cold cases and being able to figure out, put the pieces together on where they went and where you can find them.
Well, I think that you are a very talented person, and it takes a very strong control of your brain and your mind and your meditation in order to do that.
Yes.
And the fact that you have this ability to help out police officers around the world and investigations around the world, I think it's incredible. I really do, because so many people search for closure. And, fortunately, I'm not somebody who's in that position. I would never want to imagine what that's like to be able to do that, but or to be in that position. But we need people like you, people who have had that ability to control their mind, to use it for much more than what we do on a daily basis. How
Mhm.
did you figure out that you had this talent?
Well, actually, first I want to ask, was that Robert Monroe speaking at the beginning of your intro?
No, that's Ronald Reagan at his UN presentation back in the 1980s.
Oh God, that sounded just like Robert Monroe. And I went to the Monroe Institute, and that's where I was actually professionally trained on remote viewing and astral projection in order to find missing people. But I guess I've always been able to do this. I just had no idea that my consciousness was any different than anyone else's, because really, until you start asking, your reality is your reality, right? And it's not like I see dead people walking through walls or hear disembodied voices. It's so not like that for me. So I didn't really know to what extent I had any abilities really until, well, I went into nursing and I could take a look at a patient. I was a palliative oncology nurse for 13 years before I jumped over and changed careers. And the one thing I was really, really good at doing was just looking at a patient, scanning them from head to toe, and knowing where their illness was, if they were going to pass away, how long they had with us left. If their level of pain, it would go through me, I would feel it. So it really made me a good nurse. But it was finding my first missing person. I found my first missing person before I ever did a reading as a professional psychic. And that was quite eye-opening for me, knowing that exactly what I saw, because in that case, a woman had gone missing, and it just so happened that I was taking a psychic development course, and the teacher and I were having coffee afterwards. And when we were sitting there, she got a text from a cousin of hers up in Wetaskiwin, which is I think about 2 hours north of Calgary. And it was her RCMP cousin saying, "Hey, this woman just went missing. Would you mind taking a look and see what you could see?" So she looked while we were sitting there, and she says, "Hey, while you're here, you take a look. I can't really see much." So I did. And I started writing down. I started describing the property, what to look for, like what the color of the house looked like, right down to the green. It was a white house with green trim on it. And so I was able to give them very detailed description of the property and where to go. And that, hearing the feedback coming back from that officer when they found her, that to me was probably the trippiest thing I'd ever experienced, because it was like, oh my God, I saw that. Because for me, when I do remote viewing, it plays out almost like a memory. Been there, done that, watched it, read it. I know it. And once I can hook into a scene, I can literally do a 360-degree turn with my consciousness and see everything that's around. I can go from the bird's eye view, I can go from the ground, or literally turn around to see what's in the whole surrounding area. Whereas a lot of remote viewers will just get little snippets, little blasts. I get the whole story. So the Monroe Institute almost didn't know what to do with me, because when they train you, they tell you, no, you'll only see little gestalt, little snippets. You won't see the whole story. And for me, it's like, no, sit down, get your popcorn, let me tell you everything that happens in that. So I don't know why I have access to the whole story instead of just snippets, but I do. So for me, I've never charged a person or the police or law enforcement ever on a missing person case. I think that is really bad juju, where if you can help a person in their worst time of need, I think that is the right thing to do. And so I make my remote viewing abilities available to any and all law enforcement and immediate family members. So no cousins or friends of a cousin, none of that, because they're not the ones who can get the information into the right hands, right? So I'm very particular who I will work with, because that's where you see the results, right? So
Yeah. And the fact that you have that type of sight and intuition into this, how did you discover this? Like, when did this all start for you? I know you went to the the Monroe Institute, pardon me, but obviously there was a line of events that happened, psychic intuition, psychic ability, and everything. When did that all begin?
the first missing person case. And that's when I was starting to kind of dip my toes in psychic development, because I was actually brought up a born again Christian my whole life, and had to memorize the Bible before I went to bed. Like, my parents were big time Christians. And so it wasn't until after they passed away that I was actually even able to look into this stuff and go, okay, what is this? And why can I see this so clearly? And so when I made the jump from nursing, what I did was I ended up buying a holistic wellness center. And within that wellness center, we had everything from psychics to healers. We taught classes there. I had a retail space. It was pretty big. And that's really where I started doing readings. And then by that time I was in. It took me a while to get in with the RCMP and the police, because they don't readily use psychics. My name had to get out amongst them. And how that happened was actually, so back to that original case. So that RCMP officer called me to thank me for my information. I said, well, that was fun. That was like solving a puzzle to me. I can do it again. Let me try. I can do it again. And he laughed at me. He says, Patricia, we don't use psychics. Like, there's no way. He goes, I gave that picture to my cousin. Had I known that anybody was around her or anything, I never would have sent it to her, because it's private information. He says, but there is a group of law enforcement that's down out of Phoenix, Arizona, called Find Me. And they're a nonprofit organization. It's a Fed-led group. So it's all everything from FBI, search, track, and rescue, cadaver dogs, linguistic specialists, handwriting specialists. And they also use 150 psychics and remote viewers in order to help locate missing persons. And so he asked me if he could pass my name on to that team. And I was like, yes, absolutely. So about 6 to 8 months later, I got a call from Kelly Snyder, who's the founder of Find Me. And we went through the rigorous background checks, tests for accuracy, all of that. And I made the team. So a lot of my numbers do come, my successes come from Find Me. But then my name also got out in Canada, doing Canadian cases. So now a lot of the cases that I do are Canadian, North American, US or Canada. But I've done them everywhere. And you got to remember, there's no such thing as time when you are going into those higher dimensions. So when I say I've worked on missing person cases that are ancient, I worked on a 3,000-year-old case where with an archaeologist to help to locate the ancient burial grounds of an indigenous culture out in Australia, and it worked. So it doesn't matter how old it is, if the imprint is there, if the energetic imprint is there on the property, I'll find it. As long as I can get into the field of energy that that person, place, or thing represents, as long as I can get into it, I can see everything, that the past, the present, the future of it, and where it is.
Have you been psychic your whole life, or was this something that you had to find?
No, I guess so. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I knew things, but you don't know until you start asking, right? So it didn't start making sense to me. I knew that I had a heightened sense of, I could feel the emotions of others. It would literally go through me. Like if someone was hurting, they didn't even need to open their mouth. I could literally feel it emanating off of them. And I mean, none of that stuff made any sense to me until I started getting in there and doing it, right? And then with the Monroe Institute, that really helped me to put the pieces together of what I wasn't understanding, and to also go deeper, because they have hemisync, which is the binaural beats that you can use for brainwave entrainment. So if I'm working on a missing person case, I'll pop on the hemisync binaural beats and use that as a tool to get in deeper. So yeah, it's been I guess it's been a journey, but I don't overly know when it started, other than to say the first time I found a missing person.
That is awesome. That is just great. And to find your niche in this, where you are able to contribute to something, a negative situation, that and help turn it into a positive, because for a lot of people, they just want closure. They want closure on what happens. They want their child back. They want their partner back. They want, their loved one back, or their best friend, whatever it may be. And the police obviously want to try and figure out who did it, if it's a cold case or something along those lines. But do you feel you're kind of doing yeoman's work, for people who are suffering?
Oh, absolutely. And if I can bring hope and peace and closure to a family, I'm here for it. I'm totally here for it. I've signed up to be one of those people that, I every day, and I know this is sound really weird coming from a psychic and a remote viewer, but I'm being honest. Every day I put my hands in the air and I say, Lord, use me as an instrument of your peace. Here I am. Use me. And then boom, it comes. That's my activation. I pray every morning. And I'm in constant contact with my guides, my angels, and the big guy himself. So it flows.
How many guides do you have?
4 that I work with every day.
Are they all angelic, or are they kind of a mixture?
No, they're angelic guides. They're all angelic guides.
Did you know this was what you were supposed to do before you started it?
Well, it's interesting, because when I was a kid, I used to go around and tell everyone that I was going to be a Christian missionary when I grew up. So I think I always knew I was supposed to help humanity. I think it's another reason why I went into nursing, because it was a great way to be able to help every single day. But I've always felt this ferocious drive to help. I'm on a mission. I keep hearing, I'm on a mission. We're on a mission, you guys. We're here at this time that we signed up for, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. So I'm constantly looking for different ways to send out that blast of white light, or that healing energy. Like, even when, this may sound silly, but when I'm stuck in traffic, I literally activate my hands and I'll just send blessings to the cars that are beside me. Or if I hear an ambulance, I stop, drop, and pray. Someone's on the receiving end of that call, so I pray for them. I absolutely believe in the power of prayer. I know it works. I can see a prayer in action. So the other part of my abilities was I can literally see people's energy. And for example, a lie to me looks like bloody diarrhea. That's the color of a lie, is bloody diarrhea. Like, it's really gross when someone's full of shit, literally. Yeah, that's what it looks like in their field. But I can also see a prayer. When someone prays, it's the most beautiful golden light that I see come from about this area, their solar plexus, and it slowly moves up their body and down all over them. And it's literally like they're they start glowing with shimmery gold. The color of a prayer is shimmery gold. And so watching someone pray in action, I love it. And I'm not talking about religion here. Drop the born again Christian stuff for a second. I'm not talking about that. I'm not into organized religion. I'm not into organized anything like that. My thing is, I know that there is a higher power out there, and it doesn't matter what you want to call it, God, Buddha, Allah, Steve, it doesn't matter. There is something out there that is so much greater than us, and it's a stream of energy. Think of it like a radio station, right? We can tune into all the different frequencies depending on where we're at, our level of consciousness. And then we attract those lessons that are on that frequency. We learn them. So for me, there is something to be said about raising your vibration, about setting intentions. And you can look at prayer as setting intentions or stepping into a field of faith, whatever you want to call it. It changes your energy. So I hope I don't sound too preachy. I don't mean to, but
No, not at
that's
all. I don't think you're being preachy at all. I think what you're doing is you're telling your story and how you got there. That's the question I asked. So I thought it was a good answer. So I appreciate that.
thank you.
As you move forward with this and you're going to continue on, this is your path. I'm going to take you back a little bit. And if this gets a little too personal, just, we're on camera, so you can just throw me the middle finger whenever you want to do. Just don't say it because we are on terrestrial radio. But you were married to a very lovely man. When you meet him and you start telling him all this woo stuff that you're into, what was his reaction?
Well, I was 16 when I met him. We've been together over 30 years. And so he gets me. He gets me. My husband is literally the greatest man on the face of the earth. I married my best friend and my soulmate. And it's a beautiful thing after 30 years of marriage to be able to sit here and tell you that I still love him as much as the day I laid eyes on him. I met him actually in a bar underage.
Oh
I
my.
saw him across the dance floor and he took my breath away. He literally took my breath away. And I went home that night and I told my mom, I said, Mom, I met the man I'm going to marry. You watch, I'm going to marry that boy. And sure enough, she told that story at our wedding. So he gets me. He was brought up Catholic. So, but he's not like his family was never like this big, practicing Catholics or anything like that. But I think he didn't know what to make of all of it because clients had told him, like, your wife said this and this and this happened, and like I've made some really crazy predictions, Dave, that have happened. Like, for example, there was this one lady where I predicted her winning the lottery right down to the day that she won. And I predicted it right down to the 2 dates. I told her November 27th, you're going to buy the ticket. December 2nd, you're going to find out you won. And she won $7 million. $7 million. Her testimonial's on my website. And when my husband, he had heard things like that, but we ended up doing a charity event for Find Me in New York. And my husband.
Hold that thought. We're going to go to break here, the bottom of the hour. Remote viewer, psychic intuitive Patricia Monna is here. We're going to continue on with her personal journey into the unknown right after this on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned, everybody. All right. I just got to time everything out
Okay.
for our radio stations.
Can people still see me right now?
They can see you and they can see me. They get behind the scenes.
Okay. Very cool.
All right. Hi, Captain K-Rod. How are you? And who else has jumped in here? Oh, we're good. We're good right there. All right. Sierra, we're not doing readings tonight. So exciting. Have you thought about going after people who just vanish?
Oh, well, okay. David Pilates contacted me for that, and we
Yes.
were talking about doing a show together, but it didn't work out. It was at a time right when unfortunately his son had passed away, and
Yeah.
um
That was
so
horrific.
yeah, and then COVID happened and stuff. But yeah, it was really, really sad. But no, I like what do you mean, like disappearances? Because I mean, that's what I work on
Yeah,
is disappearances.
I would be very curious to see what you would get of like people who just vanish, like David Pilates type cases. I think it would be phenomenal to see what you would get off that.
Like, are you talking about people who literally vanish into thin air right in front of someone? Because I've never
No,
heard of that.
no, like people. Let's say,
Who just the police can't find?
yeah.
That's where I come in. That's exactly where I come in. I've worked on, like I said, I've worked on cases that are 3,000 years old. I've worked on ones that are 30 years old. But I hate to break it to you, there's usually a story that went with it. And
I totally believe that.
yeah,
I totally believe that. I'm not shooting down what you talk about or anything like that, but they're like, give you an example. The not what's the guy's name? What is his name? I could see it. Vancouver Island guy on Duncan who claimed that he was going to go be taken by aliens and be gone for 4 months. What is his name?
I haven't heard of that one. Mind you, I don't watch the news.
Yeah, no, this happened like 1980.
Okay. Yeah.
Granger Taylor. Thank you, J. Truth Seeker. Granger Taylor, that case, they found his vehicle exploded on one of the mountains. They believe that he offed himself, but there are people who still think that there was something strange behind that and he did get taken. Because he told his parents for years that he was going to be abducted and be gone for a long time before coming back. And it's almost 50 years now, and he hasn't come back yet.
Well, if you send me a picture, I can look into it for you.
That would be kind of cool.
I can tune in and see what I pick up for sure.
That would be kind of cool.
That's all I need. I don't even need the person's name. Just send me a picture. As long as I can tune in, I'm super visual. So as long as I can tune into that picture and hook into their energy, I can look around and see what happened.
All right. I'm following your main page here. There we go. There we go.
Did you just send it to me now?
No, I haven't sent you the picture yet.
Oh, okay.
No, I just followed you on Facebook so that way I can just send it to you there.
Nice.
Yeah. We got about 1 minute.
Oh, we're still on break?
We're still on commercial break.
Oh, neat.
We come back in like top of the hour. We'll be out for about 6 minutes.
Potty break.
Potty break time. That's right. Right. If you have to tinkle, that's the time to go.
I always get nervous doing interviews, so I always have my big jug of water with me.
So do I. A mason jar.
So you get it.
Yep. Yep. And if you see me snorting anything, it is Vicks inhaler, nothing illegal.
Good to know.
Yeah. I have bad nose problems. So,
Oh, no.
yeah, my son and I we got in a little bit of a hockey scrap yesterday, and he smacked me right in the nose.
Oh.
No. All right, here we go. Here we go, the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Patricia Monna is our guest. Let's invite you to help you help find people in missing cases. Momentarily, but first, I want to remind everybody that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. PatriciaMonna.com, that's 2 N's in Mona. Check her on out if you want a remote view or you got a cold case you may want her to look at. This topic totally intrigues me. And right before the break, you were talking about your husband getting used to the fact that you have all this weirdo stuff going on. And it took him a bit, but you finally were able to do it.
Yeah, so it was an impromptu reading with a New York cabbie that happened in front of him. The cab driver had come to pick us up and take us to the airport. And and it was funny because the cab driver was persnippety, really not in a good mood when we walked in, right? Or when we got in the cab. And I said to my husband, his dead mother is bugging me. I have to give him a message. And my husband's like, don't you dare. Because the guy's already in a bad mood. You don't know if he's open to it. And I'm like, I don't care. She's pestering me. So I did. And by the end of it, the guy was crying. And my husband, that was his first time witnessing me at work or witnessing a message come through me. So ever since that day, that's when I think he really started to go, okay, what is this? Because at first when I said, I want to leave nursing and do this, I mean, that's a huge, huge jump and a big leap of faith, right? But it's a good thing I've got an amazing husband who stands behind me and my crazy ideas. Even if it's bungee jumping and skydiving, I take him on wild adventures.
I would do the bungee jumping, not skydiving, though.
Oh, you feel alive. It's amazing.
Oh, I bet you do. I plan on it for my 90th birthday if I get there. Then, because I figure at 90, I don't care if the chute opens or close or not. I don't care at that point.
Oh, that's hilarious. The landing might hurt a little. Pardon
me?
The landing might hurt a little at 90.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm 90. I'm going to be one of them miserable curmudgeons that just, likes to bug people. I'm already looking forward to it.
Nice.
Yeah, 39.
I'm not aiming for 90. That's too long at the job for me.
I understand that.
90.
I can understand that. All right, let's get into some of these cases that you have dealt with, because you've dealt with everything from ancient cases thousands of years ago to modern cases where things have tragically happened to people. How does this start for you? Take us from step A to getting into the investigation. What happens?
Okay, so, well, like I said, I'll only take cases directly from the officiating officer who's presiding over the case, or from the immediate family. So meaning mother, father, brother, sister, that's it. And then, so what I do is I request, I forgot to mention, I need a picture and the last known whereabouts. Where did they go missing from? And the reason why is when I receive their picture, if you don't tell me where they went missing from, you're not giving me a starting point. I'm going to see everything. I don't need to know who they were at 10 years old or at 12 or what they ate for dinner 2 weeks before they went missing. I'll see the whole gamut. So give me a starting point, and then I can track and trace their energetic signature from there. So then what I have to do, so I do my tune in, and it'll literally play out like a memory. Like I watched the movie, I watched it go down. And so then I have to take what I see up here, and I have to go onto Google Earth and drop pins of exactly where search and rescue or search and recovery needs to focus their search efforts on. And then I hand it in. And I shouldn't say that. There's also a report that I fill out that describes the area, that that details, you know, what I believe happened, or and where I feel trauma on the body, because if I can get into their energy field, I can feel for any broken bones or any trauma, you know, dissemination, anything like that. It's part of their energy, right? So yeah, and then I hand it in. I hand in the report with the coordinates.
How, when you're feeling everything at such a reality, how do you keep your level of professionalism going without getting emotionally involved?
I was a nurse. You have to, when I was a nurse, I was the nurse you didn't want to see, because you're dying. It was end stage cancer that I dealt with, right? So my job, even back then, was to literally love them to death, to show them peace and happiness, and to keep them comfortable before they passed. So I had to deal with grief in so many different capacities that I've learned to be there for someone and hold space for them instead of taking on their trauma. I don't need to feel someone else's trauma. I need to stand firm and be strong so I can do my job in their time of need, right? So yes, can I get influenced by other people's energy? It's not influenced, affected. Yeah, I can feel it. I'm not, you know, I'm not superhuman. I can definitely feel, you know, someone's sadness or someone's anger. You know, if someone's sending me, you know, daggers, I can feel that too, but I also know how to protect myself against that, right? So it's part of the job. It's part of it. And if I was a blubbering mess, I wouldn't be help to anyone. So that's where I have to be strong and be partial, you know, or be impartial to the emotions that they're going through.
Is that tough, though, considering some of the cases you deal with are so tragic, where you're like, are you literally watching or feeling the person leave this planet?
So let me ask you something. Do you cry when you see people murdered on TV? Do you cry when you're watching a war movie? You know, like I do. I will. I'll feel that, you know. I can't watch Schindler's List, things like that. I can't watch people suffering. But to me, the way it's presented to me, it's no worse than watching it on the news or on the TV. We don't cry over every single person's tragedy, especially if there is no relation. I'm just doing the job, right? I just thought of this. I'm in my office. I can show you some of the stuff. Wow. I can show you a couple of the things.
I'll need you to describe it for our radio audience.
Oh, okay. I forgot we're on the radio too. Okay, so for example, I worked on the floods in Wimberley, Texas in 2015, where 8 people went missing because a house that was on stilts by the river, it got washed down the river in the floods, and there was 8 people in the house. And right from the beginning, I told Search and Rescue I'm only going to be able to find 6 people, not 8, because I couldn't feel the energetic signature of the other 2 victims. And to this day, they've never been found. So this is an example of what I do. So this is Google Earth, map on Google Earth. And this is actually, so Search and Rescue sets up a chat between people that are part of the search, right? So this was actually put in the search chat. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to screenshot that and keep that because that's pretty cool. It shows my accuracy. So It says, it was stated the little boy was found on the Blanco River close to Water Park Road. The psychic appears accurate. Her pin's yellow, mine red. Now, we can get as close as I can. You see where my pins are? I'm in
Yeah.
yellow, and where the bodies were found are in red. So that's
pretty
how we find them. I literally drop pins onto Google Earth and tell them this is where you need to search. And then I give them the circumstances and the surrounding what to look for. So for example, in this case, I kept seeing the roof of it looked like it was a coffee shop when it was together, but I kept seeing this blue and white roof. And I said one of the victims will be right by the blue and white roof. And sure enough, that's another where they found the person was right by the roof, because the roof stood out to me when I was doing the remote viewing. So I'm constantly looking for things that stand out. Now, someone goes missing in the middle of the forest, that's tough because everything looks the same, right? There's no clear identifying markers. And that's where I really then have to use my psychic senses on top of remote viewing to go down and go down and go down in area size until I know, okay, this is where I need to drop my pin, because forests are tough.
May I please just cut you off there for a second, because I have a question about the forest.
Yeah.
Is it that the forest is so dense and it all looks alike, or is it that Mother Nature can play tricks on what we see and where it is?
No. It looks no. I don't believe that. I mean, animals are out there and they can take apart a body really quick. But if you're talking about like interdimensional vortexes that hide bodies and stuff like that, no, I don't believe that.
I'm not talking that. I guess an example that I have is at one of my original Sasquatch area where I found a couple of footprints.
Yeah.
Walked in there with 5 other people, been there dozens of times. And all of a sudden, everything looks the same, and I don't know which way is out. And I started to panic because I was the only one familiar with the in the area with my family members who were with me that day.
Yeah.
And the only way I was able to really jump back to my senses was I heard a vehicle coming up the logging road, and it pointed me in the sound of it pointed me in the direction where the logging road was. But otherwise, I didn't know where anything was. It was like the forest had absolutely turned on me.
Is it that, or did you just get lost and lose your direction for those few minutes? Right? But it's so, here's the thing. When we get into the woo-woo stuff, it's so easy to instantly go, okay, it's woo-woo, or it's this, or it's aliens, or it's no, we have to still keep our feet on the ground and go through
100%.
the list. Okay, what is it? Before we go, aliens abducted a person, or that there was a shroud over the area or anything like that. Was it a moment where you just got confused, got turned around? You know what I mean? Like, that's the nurse in me as well. That's the nurse in me going, what was your blood sugar levels at that day? So I'm kind of I don't know. I'm on the fence about that, but I've never had it where I couldn't see. I just see a lot of the same. So things like, I'm looking for rivers, because you can do astral projection where you literally astral project to the site that you're looking for, right? But on the way, I'm looking for things like rivers, roads, which way the sun is going up or down. Things like that are going to give me clues to the direction on where I need to go, if that makes sense.
Totally. Okay, so you have troubles with the forests. You have troubles with, because they all look the same, and that is true.
Not that I haven't found people in the forest. I have. My last case just from September was in the forest and we found her. So it's not that I can't, it's just a little harder for me because everything looks the same.
I apologize. That's what I meant.
No worries. I'm just giving clarity.
I guess I'm kind of all over the board right now because I'm kind of excited about this topic.
Bring it on. Ask me anything. Pick my brain.
Have you ever had, and in the next hour, I want you to really get into a couple of cases. Okay. But have you ever had, in your expertise or your opinion, a spirit or the spirit of a person who's missing come to you and say, can you help me?
No, because I turn it off. When I'm not specifically asked, I'm not looking. I don't look unless I'm asked. And the reason why is that there's so many psychics out there that really want to be helpful and that have low-key ruined it because they're giving tips that turn out to be nothing, right? And so I don't ever want to be classified as that. So I wait until they contact me. And the reason why I say that, because when they hear it's a tip coming from a psychic, 9 times out of 10, they'll put it to the side. So when I work on a case, the first thing I do is I send them my resume. I've got RCMP recommendations. I've got a recommendation from Find Me. I've got tons of recommendations that I can show, and proof and casework that I can show to police officers, right? And recommendations from officers that I've worked with directly. That goes farther than saying, oh, here's a tip from a psychic. So, and now here's the thing. I have had it before where the family wants to work with me. So I go ahead, I work on it, get all the information to the family, but the police officer basically wants nothing to do with it. Well, the police officer has a duty to look into every single tip, but they can be jerks and maybe go, yeah, we'll look into this lightly and not really take it seriously, right? Because at the end of the day, you've got to be accurate with this stuff because it costs a lot of money to do a search. So for me, I hate to say it, but kind of learned to listen because of my track record, right? So I wait until I'm asked in because I don't want to go knocking on their door if they're not looking for the help. You know what I mean? Like, and some cops can be like that where they just don't want your help. It's like, okay, that's fine. But I think it's ridiculous if law enforcement turns it down because I do have a steady track record and I don't charge. I've never charged a cent. So looking on a missing person case, to be active, to be out there stomping on the ground looking for a missing person, I have never, ever charged a cent, nor would I ever, right? So they'd be silly not to listen to what I've got to say.
I'm a little shocked by that because I thought, but I understand you turning it off unless you're working, turning it off because otherwise you are going to get pounded.
Bombarded.
Like, you're going to get bombarded by spirit coming up to you and just saying, help me, or can you, I mean, you don't want to turn into a Teresa Caputo.
No, and what she does is wrong. Honest to God, Dave, what she does is not good. I totally disagree. Listen, you don't go walking up to someone and strip them naked for your entertainment and for your TV show to make money on. Because literally, when I'm doing a reading, it's like I'm stripping someone's soul naked and telling them all about the stuff that no one else knows about. You don't be doing that for entertainment on TV. Like, to me, that's just poor taste. It really is. It's bad practice. And I would never do that. Even if I saw something massive on a person, unless they asked or unless I had permission to look, there's no way it's leaving my mouth. It's none of my business. Unless someone comes to me asking for my help, what they do in their life is none of their business unless they want to share it with me, either through a reading and I'm energetically seeing it, or unless they want to have coffee and be my friend and share it with me. But no, I don't ever look into people without their permission. That's just wrong.
Yeah, I don't find that very positive either, to be blunt. I really don't, but that's okay.
That's okay. He loves it.
We have 4.5 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Patricia Monna, remote viewer, person who finds missing people, is our guest. Is there a case or a type of case you will not take on?
Children cases. I don't do kids. I'm a mother of 4, and even as a nurse, I did palliative oncology, working and nursing home for a reason. I can't look into, it breaks my heart. So I don't do children cases.
Yeah. I actually felt your energy when you said that. I got sick to my stomach there for a quick second.
I was pulled into the Isabella Stella's case, and I swore that would be the last case for a child that I ever did, but that was through Find Me. So no.
What is it about those type of cases that you just don't want anything a part of? Is it the violence that you see, the pain that you feel?
That it would haunt me because I see the images. I do see what that person is going through. That would haunt me. I don't need. There is some real evil people in this world that do horrible things to children. And I can't have that imprint. I don't know if I'd get over it, to be honest with you. That would affect me. It would affect me as a nurse. That's why I never did peds. I never went into pediatrics ever. Couldn't do it.
But for an adult, it's different, considering that usually the adult has made some sort of decision.
Mhm.
So it's whether or not it's their fault is irrelevant. The fact is they made the decisions to lead up to that event, which is different because they have the mind and the brain capacity to do that.
Yeah, I would say that's different. For me, it's literally that energy, the images. I don't know if I'd be able to turn it off if I was working on kid cases. I don't know if I'd be able to turn it off. That's why it's like I just don't touch it.
I can see that that's a very sensitive topic for you. And obviously, as a parent and as a human being, I can completely see that. And I'm going to be honest, I don't blame you. I don't blame you one bit for kind of, realizing. And I think a lot of us, when we look on the outside of it, we don't see the humanity of it all, where if you're that clear on what you were seeing, the nightmares that you would have over that. I mean, in the end, you can't take it personally. In the end, you have to be able to be free of mind after you've accomplished what you've accomplished. You don't need it haunting you back.
Yeah, exactly.
That
I
makes
have
sense.
to be able to sleep at night. If I'm gonna do this stuff, and like I said, I don't want those graphic images in my head. So adults is different. It's even a different energy. It really is. It's even a different energy dealing with adults than dealing with children. Like I would never read for a child either.
How much do you like remote viewing?
I love it. I'm really good at it.
What's the 1-minute answer that's just a rush for you?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
The rush of being a remote viewer.
When I see it so clearly that it plays out like a movie in my head. For example, here's a couple of my targets from the Monroe Institute. This one was the Titanic. And the minute the envelope was put up, because you don't know, it can be a target, person, place, or thing in the entire universe. You have no idea what the target is, right? Well, this target, it was the Titanic. And instantly I threw my hand up. I'm drowning, it's the Titanic. And my teacher was like, shh, don't yell it out. But it was like instantly I saw it. I saw the inside of the ballrooms and the dining rooms, and I could feel the air getting sucked from me.
Cases of Patricia Monna. Next on Spaced Out Radio.
This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear.
Okay.
We got 6 minutes.
Are we still live on YouTube?
We're always live on YouTube, yeah.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to put you in the green room so you could take a break.
Okay.
Are you having fun?
I am. I love talking about this stuff. And I don't mean to, I felt the energy drop. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get too serious or anything because I know you keep the energy up here. Yeah, I'm all over the place with what I'm showing you guys too. And I just have so much to say about it because I love it. And I've been doing it for so long that I got quite a bit of stuff.
I am totally intrigued. Totally intrigued. You haven't lost me. I'll tell you that. You haven't lost me.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I'm anyways, go for a break. We'll be right back.
We'll see you guys in a minute.
Okay. She's awesome. She's freaking awesome. Be right back. Old Davy's back. Lee, thank you for the super chat. Daryl Stanley, how you doing? All right. There. It's only -8 here, so it's still t-shirt weather.
Nice. It's going to be -20 here on Sunday.
Yeah, it's supposed to get a little bit colder here to -16, 17 this weekend. Illumino Hato, welcome to SOR chat. I will be honest with you on something here. When you saw my energy drop, I'm picking up stuff.
I know, so am I, but I'm trying to we're live, so I'm trying to just
Yeah,
I'm trying to stay focused.
I had to get clear. So it's just, yeah.
A heavy topic. It really is.
When I'm around people who are extremely connected, I go off like a flash bulb. Here we go, everybody. All right, here we go with the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave. Hello to everybody tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. And what do you got for us tonight, Club? Obnubilate. Obnubilate is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam says the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Remote viewer, person who looks into missing people. Patricia Monna is here tonight on the show. It's a little bit different than what we're doing on a usual basis, talking UFOs, Bigfoot, and everything. And it's one of the topics that absolutely intrigues me because she can literally go in on a cold case or when she's asked for help and help locate where these people are. Patricia, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio.
Thank you.
All right, let's get right to it here. What's a case that really stands out for you?
Ones that are frustrating. So, for example, in 2012, I worked on a missing girl in BC. I have to be careful what I say about this one because it's still ongoing when it shouldn't be ongoing. Because I told the police, I literally took them to the property. And when I took them to the property, because it was on someone's acreage, I said to them, if we get on the property, I can show you exactly where she's buried. And the police officer said, nope, don't have a search warrant. Thanks for taking us here. And I said, that's okay. Well, why don't we just come back at night? And he's like, you can't. That's trespassing. Can't do that. So I had already given them the plots and dropped the pins on where to do the search and everything. And she was there for years. And they just found her in the last couple of years, exactly on the property where I said she was. And there still has not been an arrest. That kind of stuff is infuriating, totally infuriating. So that one really stands out to me because it still really gets under my skin. Because I had worked with a few prickly cops out there, we'll say. They weren't as receptive to working with a psychic on it. And so I wasn't treated the most wonderful being out there to begin with, but I did my job, and I'm sure those men remember that case and remember where I took them. So, but it's still ongoing. That kind of
As
stuff infuriates
as
me.
much as you found that missing person, that missing girl,
Mhm.
are you then able, or do you have the ability to then tune in on who did it?
I knew who did it. I knew who did it when she went missing, and I told them. And that's why I'm saying, like, it's infuriating when there hasn't been an arrest.
So you kind of get both actions. You see the culprit and you see the victim.
Yeah, I see everything that happened. I'll get visuals right down to what they're wearing. Like if they're wearing red and black plaid jacket with a white t-shirt underneath and blue jeans and black runners, I'll be able to describe all of that because I see it. It's like a memory playing out in my mind. And so I just describe everything that I see.
There are so many people who vanish every year under mysterious circumstances.
Mhm.
When you are looking for this person, okay, so let's say, trying to figure out a good example here. Let's say you were given a case, and maybe you answered this before, but maybe I just didn't understand it fully at that time. But if you were given a case and you're seeing everything that happens in that case, is that where it ends, or are you talking to the spirit to say, okay, lead me to where you are, or give me the information that I need to know?
Well, there's many different ways to be able to get the information. Remote viewing is one of them. Psychic mediumship or mediumship is another way to be able to talk to the deceased. But it's not my main way. Mediumship is not my main way of doing it. I'd rather see it from my guides, hear it from my guides what happened, or see it through remote viewing because oftentimes when someone has been murdered, we'll say, their spirit can seem very confused on the other side. And so you can get little tiny blips off of that person. But I don't know, I find it more effective actually doing it through remote viewing. And then also you're not getting the necessarily the energetic imprint of the emotions as much through remote viewing as you would directly speaking to the spirit. So I don't know. It's just it's more. I don't know. I guess the way I would describe it is more detached, emotionally or energetically wise. If I don't have to go that route, usually I do it through remote viewing. I can do it through mediumship, but it's not as it's kind of spotty because you got to remember, just because someone passes away doesn't necessarily mean they gained clarity, and it doesn't mean they're angelic. Like, excuse me, but if someone's a jerk on this side, they're still a jerk on that side, right? So it, what was their clarity before they died, as they died, and right after they died? I'd rather get clear. You know what I mean?
Yes.
See it from the bird's eye view.
I'm going to ask you a little bit of a woo question here. After you've done your case where you've kind of taken away you're working the professional side of the remote view, have you ever had a spirit come back to you and just say, thank you?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a very satisfying thing to receive, for sure.
Like,
you could feel it. It's literally like they're wrapping their arms around you and hugging you as though they are in person. And you can feel, you can hear and see exactly who it's coming from. So yeah, there is a big sense of closure that takes place when someone's been found. There's a huge warm heavenly thank you that comes.
have you ever worked a serial killer case?
No, but I've worked on some really messed up cases that where the person killed multiple people. I've worked on, oh gosh, I worked on lots of those. But serial killers, no, like Paul Bernardo style thing or 10 body. No, I haven't. And I mean, it's not that I wouldn't. I gladly would. No one's ever asked me.
You know, because I mean, you look at, say, some of the cases, like whether it's the Green River Killer, or even, you know, to take a Canadian case, the, you know, Willie Picton and the pig farm. I mean, there's so many, you know, spirits there. The pig farm is a little bit close to me, because I was actually working in news radio at that time when the Piggy's Palace was busted,
Oh,
and I had to go help a reporter there. And knowing that there are subdivisions built on where he would have spread the parts when he put them through the wood chipper, it's just kind of grotesque when you think about that, right? Because there's literally spirits walking around there that'll never, their bodies will never be found, because now there's, you know, $1 million houses built on in those subdivided areas that was once his property.
yeah, that's brutal. That's brutal. I would never want to buy a property where, you know, there was brutal murders on it. It leaves an imprint. It totally leaves an imprint.
Completely. What's the weirdest case you've ever worked?
Probably one I just did not too long ago, where I'm just wondering how much I should say, but okay. So, and this is a warning for people who are trying to do spiritual ceremonies with psilocybin and ketamine and all of that stuff. Be very careful, because your body is a vessel, right? And I choose to allow it to house the Holy Spirit. To each their own. But when you're doing psychedelics, what you're actually doing is pushing your consciousness to the side, and you're opening yourself up. And if you don't have spiritual discernment, it's very, very, very easy for negative spirits or unwanted energy to attach itself to you and start messing with you. So usually in these healing psilocybin ceremonies or ketamine ceremonies, it will seem innocent at first. It'll feel great. It'll feel like you're healing, that, you know, you've connected with God, and it's all fluffy and rainbows and cotton candy, until it goes dark. And once it goes dark, it just goes darker and darker. And that's when you know you've got a problem. And I've seen that. I've actually seen that with certain people who are, or certain groups of psychologists who are trying to get the ceremonies legalized. And it's really messed with one of the psychologists that I know, where she can't turn off the voices. She says she's opened 18 portals in the back of her head, and she's got everything from demons to dead children to everything going through her. And just people gotta be aware that we are way more than our physical bodies. We are mind, body, soul. And for me, I've had the experience of coming out of my body, walking through walls. I know exactly what it feels like to put my arm through a wall. You can feel the density of it. It's got a static thickness to it when you're literally walking through an object, right? So I know that we are spirit having a human experience. So we have to be very careful with anything that messes with our spirit. Well, okay, back to the case. So this one girl got very into spirituality, into mediumship, into constant contact, where they wouldn't leave her alone. Apparently, this is according to her mom, where now they're waking her up at night, and you know, her mom said, well, no, it was, you know, her dead grandmother giving her these loving messages. And it was, you know, loved ones on the other side giving these loving messages. And I said to her mother, under no circumstances would a loved one wake your daughter up all night to give messages? There's no way. And messages that didn't make sense. So, anyways, this girl channeled coordinates on where this spirit told her to go. And it was out in the middle of the forest. And unfortunately, that's where she was found, deceased. So people can't be messing with that stuff and think that you're not going interdimensional. When you start to see things like on psychedelics, are you seeing into another reality? Are you seeing into an alternate dimension? And you just don't realize it because you just think you're hallucinating, right? Well, it took this girl's life. So I just, that one bugs me. That one, it's weird and it bugs me, and I just don't think it's as healing as what these psychologists think it is. And I don't think it's right. Because the thing is that when I meditated on what these ceremonies can turn into or what they are, when someone is full of trauma, unfortunately, they have a lot of darkness around them, right? And so their light is not as bright as what you would want it to be. And I know that people can be seeking the light, and that's why they're drawn to this. They think it's going to heal them. There's no way to skip doing the inner work. You can't drug your trauma out of you. You have to face it. You have to heal it and move forward. It's happening for a reason. My motto is bless the bullshit, because it's fertilizer for your dreams and you just don't know it. The worst trauma in a person's life can lead to the greatest opportunity down the road, and you won't know it until later on. My biggest tragedy was the reason why I changed jobs and started going into, creating my business, my intuitive business. And I just think to myself, had the worst day of my life never happened, this conversation right now wouldn't be happening. And all the people that I've helped and 35 missing people that I found, they wouldn't have been found if I would have stopped and let my trauma just keep me in place, right? So I understand people seek healing, but if you're doing it through drugs, and even if you're doing it with therapists, I'm telling you, I've watched therapists get messed up on this stuff. So you got to be careful, because I think it's opening up people. And what I heard was, when I meditated, going, okay, what's spiritually going on here in these psilocybin ceremonies, and these ketamine ceremonies, and these ayahuasca ceremonies? You want to hear the words that I heard? Host hopping. Host hopping. They're host hopping. So if the person who is facilitating the ceremony isn't in divine alignment, isn't emanating the highest truth, whatever that is for them, and I don't know, have their life right with God, whatever that looks like to them, you can invite very dark entities into people by opening them up through drugs and not doing it in a safe, protected way. And they can think they're doing it, but a lot of psychologists don't know the spiritual aspect of what it is that they're opening with people. There's a whole spiritual side to all of us, right? And so when you move yourself out of the way, you're making a lot of room for something else to enter. And I believe that that's what happened to that missing girl.
Yeah, I don't think, especially the younger generation, knows that when you open the door, I mean, originally when you and I were growing up, it was about Ouija boards. And most of the time we never closed the Ouija board. It was more so, leaving it open, and whatever came through and settled in there. Now with things like ayahuasca and other hallucinogenics, I think it's a little bit more dangerous. And I agree with you. It's not for me. I mean,
Me neither.
I just have always felt like when I kind of got slammed into this myself, ending my happily boring life at 38 years old, I just found that if you concentrate and meditate on it, you don't need anything. You
Yeah,
don't need
you
anything
don't.
to, I get more off of if I'm around a bunch of people, say in a spiritual meditation, that light shines brighter than anything.
I,
Like even just sitting here with you today, I'm feeling it. Or when I'm working with one of my gurus, her name is Samantha Mowat, and when I'm with her, weird stuff happens. You don't need anything. If you just let it through and let it happen, it's going to happen, and you have a better chance of protecting yourself as well.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I like what Carl says, and this is why I'm totally against using any type of drugs for spiritual gains. You don't need it. You are the gateway. You have access to those higher dimensions. You don't need drugs in order to open it up. And I just think that there's so much bad energy around that stuff that I don't know how they can make it good. you know?
We got 3 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Patricia Monna is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. And in the next half hour, we're going to take audience questions because I know they're piling up here for you. But in the end, when all is said and done and you walk away from a case, how do you just shake it off? How do you just say, okay, there's another win, or there's an end to this. Let's move on to the next one. How do you do that?
Close my laptop. It's that simple. I walk out, I turn off the lights, and I close my door. It's
That's
that
it.
simple. It's that simple. When it's turned off, it's off. It's just like turning off for the day at work. It is. It is. But I got to tell you, there is such joy that comes over me when I get the call to say that they found someone. And that's hard to put into words, that kind of electric joy that goes through me, knowing that I did the impossible, right? And to me, it's a part of this is also because it's proof that we are capable of the impossible. I'm making the impossible possible every day with my job. So, and that's what I love about being able to do cases, because it's solid evidence. You know what I mean? Or catching stuff on tape. Like I've caught really cool EVPs in my office, and actually even had a murdered boy show up in a picture, and you could totally tell it's him. I'll send that to you so you can see for yourself. You might even remember the case. Do you remember the 5 university kids that were stabbed to death by Matthew DeGrood in Calgary in 2015? Yes. Okay, yes. So Zachariah Rathwell is the first boy who was stabbed to death, and his dad came to my retreat back in, I think it was 2016. And anyways, on the Saturday night of my retreat, we do this big spirit guide meditation where we call in our loved ones, we call in our guides to work with us and to show us that they're around. And then the lights are off when we're doing the meditation. And I tell everybody, okay, get out your cameras, start taking pictures. And we got the full-blown apparition of this boy standing. And you can even see a light above his head. It almost looks like a vortex of light right above his head. And his dad, so the lights from the doors, that the only light basically in the room was from the windows on the doors of the retreat place. And you can see him standing in the light, the only light in the room. He's standing right next to it. And his dad was sitting right next to that door. So
incredible. We have Patricia Monna for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to take audience questions from our social media followers when we return on the Mighty SOR.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
I would love for you to look into Flight 21.
Haven't heard of that one either. I'm telling you, I don't watch the news because then I can get pulled into a case and I know nothing. I don't want to know anything before I look into a case. So, well, chances are I'm not going to get called into that case. But was it in the States? Was it in Canada?
Flight 21's where my hotspot is. In 1965,
Oh,
to this day, it is still Canada's largest unsolved mass murder.
I could look into that for you on the side. And between me, you, and the wall, I can tell you what I see since you're going to be investigating the area.
Yeah.
Do that.
The only thing I'm sensitive about is I am not investigating the case.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm investigating the high strangeness around the area.
Got it.
That would be kind of cool to see what you get on that.
Well, I could remote view the area and see what's going on because there are natural vortexes and portals throughout the world and hot spots.
Yeah.
I believe the Bermuda Triangle is a vortex, and that's why planes go down and things go missing in that area.
Mm-hmm. I just have a really mixed feeling about doing this, but I know I have to. It's like even talking about it makes my stomach turn.
Make sure that you go in protected then.
100%. 100%. That's why I'm letting the phenomena run the what I'm going to be doing. I've already told them that I am everything. We've had 2 agreements on this, and number 1, I told them that everything is going to be filmed, so they better let everything know there that it's going to be on camera. And number 2, I told them that I will, for my own safety, be armed. Not for them, but that area has grizzly bears, black bears, wolf packs, mountain lions, giant bull moose, everything
Wow.
that can really screw me up.
Bring some bear mace.
I got some. Yeah, I got some. Yeah, this I'm just starting the build of it. All I know is, as of right now, all they're telling me is pull my Jeep in, turn it around, so that way it's easier for me to exit because it's one way out, and put my lawn chair right against the back of my Jeep, and and just sit there. And that is literally the first 6 times that I'm there.
You're a brave man. Who's going with you?
My buddy Tim James, who's my UFO reporter,
Nice.
and there will be every now and again they're allowing me to bring in certain people to help. I will not stay the night there again. I will not do that. I'm too scared.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
mad to admit I am too scared. Hi, Mr. B and friends. Welcome to SOR chat. But I think that there is going to be, over the time, like I said earlier, I think this is going to be about 2 to 3 years. I think that this is something that we're going to get some shit. We're going to get some big time stuff there.
That'd be awesome.
It's inevitable. Like, you can't help it.
Mhm.
What does that even mean, Superknower? I don't even know what that means. So very interesting. Very interesting. We have about 25 seconds. Thank you tonight to Cosmic Joe, Mama Catherine, and Major Lee for the super chats. Greatly appreciate the love and support tonight. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. Gory Tiger, thank you for joining us tonight. And we're going to get going here in about 7 seconds. So check it on out. Here we go.
We were on break the whole time.
Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. It is always a pleasure to have you here, tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Patricia Monna, we have her till the top of the hour here on the show. We are going to get to some good questions from her, and let's get right to audience questions. Patricia, you ready?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been trying to keep an eye on them and listen at the same time.
Sierra is asking, are you affected by the energies you are exposed to in your work?
I can feel them definitely. And, depending, like psychic attacks are definitely real. But I'm protected. I start and end my day in a prayer of protection. So I know how to acknowledge it and go, okay, I see you. And now I release you. And so there is a way to turn it off. You don't need to be carrying home your work every day and be so immersed in it that you get burnout. I don't do that to myself. When I leave the office, I only do readings in my office. And that's my chair and that's your chair. I leave it at work. This is my office. This is not my home.
Love it. Love it. All right. Let's move on to another question from Tucson Mufon or Tucson Mufon, whatever you want to call it. Did you help locate Isabella Celius?
I helped on the case. I can't say that I'm the only person who helped on the case, but yes, I did work on that case and I did help on that case.
Wonderful. Let's go back to Celia or Sierra, pardon me. How do you deal with that energy?
Like negative energy, you mean? I pray.
That she asked about, like when you build it up, it gets built up. How do you deal with it? How do you push it away?
I pray. I lean on what I know. And there's a Bible verse that's part of my prayer that says, the greater is he who's in me than he who's in this world. And even me just saying that, I can feel that power begin to protect me. So I'm good. It's like, honestly, I just turn it off the same way you would a TV show. What you focus on expands, right? Because your thoughts become your actions become your reality. So if I'm constantly staring or thinking about, what's putting me in a bad mood or what's attacking me, I'm feeding it energy. So I cut it right off and turn my attention somewhere else. The easiest way to quiet it is to not feed it.
All right, let's move to another question here. Let's go over to D. Cypher. Have you seen any other entities while in the astral?
Yes, they're out there. And I actually teach in the astral. I've caught myself numerous times, not just caught myself, but there's a place that I go to in the astral in order to teach myself or teach other people. I catch myself at night doing it, but I purposely do it sometimes as well. And there's all sorts of stuff out there. Absolutely. I've seen very weird looking creatures there, I'll immediately bounce back to my body. If anything freaks me out, you get thrown back into your body. Fear, boom, pulls you right back into your body. So, but however, I do also have a prayer of protection before I astral travel or do anything like that. And I also have a prayer that rebukes anything negative so it can't touch me. And I find myself even repeating that in my, like if I was to ever have a nightmare, I'll actually wake myself up saying that prayer, even in my sleep, because it's so ingrained into me. Because I did, when I was a child, I used to see demons all the time, used to feel that energy all the time. And so my mom taught me a really powerful prayer for spiritual warfare. And that's my go-to. That's my go-to prayer. And it stops it.
Have you ever dealt with aliens on the astral?
No, I've seen some pretty weird things in the sky. You know, I have a group of friends who are alien explorers and love all that stuff. And we have sat out in the middle of the field with our little alien laser beam, you know, doing the 369 pattern. And we had something flashing back the same pattern at us. And that was freaky, you know, but no, nothing, you know, face to face with aliens. I've never, you know, beam me up, Scotty, nothing like that.
Fluffy Pancake is asking, is it true when we dream we are flying? Are we really astral projecting?
Yes. Yeah. So we astral project a lot. All of us do. It's just a matter of thinking that it's dreaming or recognizing the difference between dreaming and astral projection. So when you're astral projecting and you're trying to do it, there's certain phases that you want to look for. So all of a sudden, your body will go really, really, really fuzzy. You know how the TVs used to go off the air and it used to be the bug race all over the TV? Picture that as a feeling, because that's what your body feels like. It feels super, super fuzzy. You'll often hear it where it sounds staticky, and it's literally because you're going through different fields of energy. And you'll feel yourself begin to pull out. And when something scares you back in, you know that startle reflex? You'll wake up and just go like this. Think about when you're falling asleep and then you just jerk yourself awake, right? That's actually you starting to naturally come out of you and getting jolted back in, whether something touched you, something scared you, or you just naturally pulled yourself back in. But yes, when you are flying, because when you're out of your body, that's the sensation it feels like. It literally feels like you're flying. And when you're getting pulled back into your body, it feels like that falling sensation. So I have to ask the audience, how many of you guys have ever had the falling sensation when you're dreaming or the jerking as you're trying to fall asleep? Because you're naturally, those are the things that you want to look for. When you're trying to get out, you have to will yourself past the startle reflex in order to be able to even get out of your body, right? So that's the startle reflex is actually, think of it as your jailer. It's what keeps you in the meat suit, right? So, but the minute you get out past that and you get past the startle reflex, you'll start to feel yourself rise. And just like the same sensation you get on a roller coaster, that's what it feels like when you're astral traveling, when you're flying. It's exactly what it feels like. We do it all the time and we don't really know it. When my teacher told me that at the Monroe Institute, he's like, because I'm like, what do we look for? Is it scary? Blah, blah. He's like, oh, you've done this a million times already. You just don't realize it. And the very first time that I came out of my body, the first thing that went through my head was, oh my God, Paul Elder was right. I have done this before. Where have I done this before? The minute I asked that question, where have I done it before? I was stuck to the ceiling of my bedroom of my childhood home. So then here's something trippy for you. I, as a child, when I was falling asleep, I would be petrified because I could always feel a presence in my room. My question is, was that me freaking me out? Because the minute I asked that question, I was on the ceiling looking at my child self in bed with the ugly orange comforter that was over my bed and the green furniture, like it, and it's like you're right there. It's not a memory. It's not a visualization technique. It's literally you coming out of you, out of your meat suit, out of your jail, and going. And you travel at the speed of thought. And that's why it's so important that we learn to control our thoughts. Because in the astral, in the spirit world, all of that, you attract what you think. So the purer your thoughts you can get, the less you're going to get yourself into hot water on the other side. That's why I don't like things polluting my consciousness, like the news or even music. I'm careful what music I listen to. I have to listen to uplifting music. I don't want to be vibing to Taylor Swift's, breakup pain. That's her vibration. That's her story. You know what I mean? It's all frequency.
Let's go to Andromedan. Have you ever remote viewed the moon? And if you have, what's it like?
I have not ever remote viewed the moon before. I have never remote viewed the moon. But I'll tell you one thing, the moon landing was fake. Know that without a shadow of a doubt, that was fake. That was a
Let's move on to another question here. Let's go to Fluffy. So are astral projection and remote viewing different? Could you please explain?
Very different, very different. So remote viewing is you have a blind target. You have no idea what it is. It could be a person, place, or thing in the entire universe. There is no lead ups. You don't know clues about it, nothing. And it's sitting at my desk, tuning into what that target is. So there's many different ways that you can do it, where you can literally remote view what the person is going to show you in 5 minutes, or you can tune into the energy of the target. There's many different ways to be able to get into the remote viewing, but you're still in your body. You haven't gone anywhere. You're conscious, you're aware, you're using it's almost like using your vivid imagination to get that description of what you're seeing. Astral projection is like you're there. You're literally, like I said, you become fractal energy is what it feels like. Because you become super vibrating, and you can feel yourself getting pulled out of your body, and then you direct your travels through your thoughts. You think of something and you're there. You think of up and you float up. You think down and you will float down. You travel at the speed of thought. So you're actually out of your body with astral projection. With remote viewing, I'm sitting here, I'm doing it. I didn't leave the room. I didn't leave my body. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me. Let's move on to another one. Let's go to Lee in the UK. Have you ever been attacked by another remote viewer while on target?
No. I try to no. And I was psychically attacked where it was like, whoa, what's going on? I can't sleep. I can't think straight. It was awful. And then my friend told me about Defender Shield. If you guys haven't found Defender Shield, you want to look up www.defendershield.com. Their products 1000% work. And not only do they block out EMF and 5G, they block out psychic attacks. And they have this wonderful blanket, Defender Shield blanket, that I sleep with every single night because I'm not above people trying to psychically attack me. And so that blanket, it blocks out everything. You sleep like a baby. So no, if I do feel that I am being attacked, it usually will happen at night. When you let your defenses down because you're sleeping. But like I said, I've got prayers that are ingrained into me so much that if I see anything that scares me, even in my sleep, I instantly start reciting this prayer instantly. And it brings me back to my body immediately. So, or wakes me up.
Let's continue on here. Let's go next to Sierra. What happened to that girl in Los Angeles? I think they're talking about the young lady from Vancouver who was found in the water tower. Does Did you ever look into that one?
I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
at they call it the Suicide Motel or
Where's
hotel.
that?
It's in Los Angeles.
Okay. Yeah, no, I've never heard of it.
No worries. Let's move on. Tucson MUFON is asking, have you ever looked into the DB Cooper case?
Don't know who that is. Haven't been called out for that one.
All right. So
But here's the thing. I can look into anything if the right people ask me, because I'm not going to waste my time doing looky-loos for the information to go nowhere. If I can pinpoint coordinates on where people should be searching, I want to know that my coordinates are going to be searched, right? Because then it's just a waste of time and it's for entertainment. I'm not into that. So it has to be the officer in charge of the investigation. And I saw in some of the comments people asking, what about this case? What about this case? If you want me to look into a case for you, I absolutely will. But it has to be the parents or the officer in charge of the investigation. It has to be. There's no ands, ifs, or buts. It's a safety protocol that I was trained for, that I can't cross that boundary. So, yeah, I can look into anything if the right person asks me. And remember, it's free. So if you are a parent or you are an officer watching this, contact me, info@patriciamonna.com. I'm always available for law enforcement and immediate family. Always. I'll drop what I'm doing for a case.
that's awesome. That is great. Let's get to another audience question. We have a couple coming up from Fluffy Pancake. We've already asked that one. Try and only, if you're in our audience, only put the question up once, so that way I mark them all, so that way we don't get overlapping. How do we push through and get past into the astral?
So I gotta tell you, if fear is something that, like, if any of it scares you, you won't get out. You won't get out. It's almost like the resonance of eagerness to explore. I also was trained at the Monroe Institute and used the binaural beats. I still use binaural beats. Actually, no, not to astral travel. I can astral travel without it. But for remote viewing and stuff, if I'm working on a case, I'll use the binaural beats. So there are different ways or tools that you can use in order to get into the right vibrational headspace in order to be able to get out. But if fear, I got to tell you, fear is a locked gate. And I know that personally because on one of my travels, something did scare me. And when I came back in, it took me over a year to be able to get back out again. And you can't trick your mind. You can't trick your soul. It knows if it's scared and it'll keep you in there. So fear is a big one that we got to get rid of in order to get out.
Let's go again here to Fluffy. So if I want to get into the Akashic records, I want to astral, correct?
No, not necessarily. I read from the Akashic records every day from that chair. When I'm doing my readings with people, I'm literally taking your book off the shelf of life and opening it up and letting you know what's in the plot, right? And letting you know what I see. So I use the Akashic records every day, and I do it from that chair.
Love it. Continuing on, let's go to Luna. Ever run into any occult situations connected to folks who vanish? Victims who were taken by some evil people practicing magic or odd spiritual practices?
I haven't run into it personally, but I know that stuff exists. And I believe that you want to talk about that. We need to talk about Hollywood and Maria Abramovic and Jay-Z and Beyonce, because they are some very, very evil people. P. Diddy, they're very, very evil and they're into that stuff. There is a whole group of them that are into sacrifices, and you don't gain that kind of power over people unless you've sold your soul. And so I can see it in their auric field when they are of that. So if you haven't gone down the rabbit hole of Marina Abramovic, you really should look her up. She does something that's called spirit cooking. She's an artist, and she is with all those highfalutin people. And that stuff's scary. That stuff's scary. So, but I'm sure that's a whole other show.
Episode, that's for sure. And I just hope the list comes out. If that list comes
I don't know
out,
if it ever will. Why did LA burn?
well, for many, that's another huge conspiracy right now.
Yeah, but you look at that. They canceled all of those insurances right before. Those insurance companies knew what was coming down the line. They didn't have water in the hydrants. You know, like it kind of smells a lot like Lahaina and what happened there. So I'll be very interested to see if a 15-minute city springs up in those areas. We'll just have to sit back and wait, because the government's going to gain that property for pennies on the dollar. And it's sad. These are people's livelihoods and their homes and their loved ones. That's what sickens me the most.
I agree with you on that one. Let's go to Christo here. Welcome to our chat room. First time. Have your remote viewings revealed reptilians running shadow governments?
Okay. I got something for you. But we only have 4 minutes. I caught a reptilian in a picture, and they were sitting in the Queen's box at the Royal Alexander Concert Hall just this summer when I was there to watch a concert. I said to my girlfriend, I said, "Oh, I bet you I'll be able to pick out which box is the Queen's box." I said, "Don't tell me. I'll pick it out." And I could see it because of the energy of the people that were sitting there. Lo and behold, I took a picture. I'll send it to you. It's another one of those, I think I got some proof of a shapeshifter or a reptilian, because when you see the person that was sitting in that Royal Albert Concert Hall box, that it was the Queen's box. She confirmed it with me afterwards, after I'd taken the picture and showed her. Makes you wonder, really makes you wonder. But yes, I do believe that there are other forces that are running the show. I believe that our own Prime Minister was just a puppet, World Economic Forum puppet, to be specific. And so is Mark Carney. So that's a whole other conversation.
We don't register him as the Prime Minister here. We prefer to call him Dear Leader.
Pardon? Sorry?
Prefer to call him Dear Leader.
Who?
The outgoing Prime Minister.
Oh, the one that I would love to just give him a foot and help him.
Well, I think all of us would. All of us would. Absolutely. But, you know.
I wouldn't call him a leader. I'd call him a puppet.
Only dictators in the world are called Dear Leader.
Oh, okay. Dear Leader, then it is.
Yes.
I gotcha.
Yes. We got maybe time for 2 more here. Let's go to this one. Tucson MUFON. What binaural beats are good for remote viewing?
Okay, you want to download the Expand app from the Monroe Institute. They've got a pile of amazing binaural beats on that app. And, okay, I've also got a SoundCloud channel. If you look up Patricia Monna, I think it's Patricia Monna Intuitive Consulting, or else Patricia Monna on SoundCloud, you'll see it listed, the exact ones I use every day. And then you don't have to worry about paying the $100 for the app if you're just looking for the remote viewing ones. So go to my SoundCloud and you'll see it says remote viewing binaural beats. I also have a YouTube channel, Patricia Monna Intuitive Consulting, and I teach this stuff. So if you guys, if you are curious more, I have a lot of videos up on my YouTube channel.
Love it. Patricia, it is that time of the night where we have to say goodnight to you, and I want to say a big thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. I really hope this isn't the last, because I think you're incredible, and I want to have you on again.
No, this was fun. I loved every minute of it. Thank you. That flew by. It really did.
It was awesome. Thank you very much. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, Swamp Dweller. Then we got Sweet Robbie G coming in. So let's do
it. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Thank you, everybody, for all the awesome comments.
Appreciate it, my friend. You take care.
Thank you.
Good night. All right. There goes Patricia. I like her. She's nice. All right. Let's go. Supernova. There was. I've never been mad at David Paulides. I wish he would have come on and I'd have him on again. So I'm not sure what you're trying to create here. And yes, he is the expert on this topic. When you're being hired by police stations and you're doing it for free, when I say hired, I don't think that's very fraudulent. I think, you're allowed your opinion, but hey, I can't stop you if you're going to, after so many great shows that you've complimented us on, that you don't agree with something I said or something that somebody else said, or you don't like a guest, that all of a sudden you're going to unsubscribe. That's not cool either. So you do what you got to do. I'll be right back. All right. Let's go here. I'm back. Got about a minute to go. Thank you tonight to Human Carl, Cosmic Joe, Mama Catherine, Major Lee, and Aloha Dave for the great super chats. Greatly appreciate the love and support. So thank you very, very much. All right. We got about 20 seconds left. Don't forget, you can go to our Spaced Out Radio store, get your unidentified lighting object right there, or unidentified lighting phenomena, the ULP shirt right there. We don't have ugly swag, people. Here we go. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Obnubulate. Obnubulate. Obnubulate? Yeah, I think it's obnubulate. Yeah, that's your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam says the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. My grandparents moved from Ohio in the late 70s to start a life in Florida. An opportunity to manage a ranch was a dream come true for them. When I was about 8 years old, I used to visit them once for about a month. I loved it. The smell of cow manure brings me to a special time in my life, but also brings back horrifying memories. The ranch is in Florida. I don't want to give the name of the ranch for obvious reasons. Not too much history was given to my grandparents before arriving. Shortly after, the owner started to spill the beans. Bound by contract, my grandparents had an obligation to stay for the span of 10 years. The land had some native history as well as an unfortunate suicide in the front of the house. An old Navy sailor hung himself several years before. The land has several different ponds and trails which were made for great adventures. I had lots of fun, until my strange experience. My father and I decided to go fishing at one of the more interesting ponds. At the time, I had no idea what made this pond so interesting. Later, when I was an adult, I was told why. The pond was shaped like a donut and had a small mound at the center of the pond, around 45 feet from the shore. It was perfectly centered. From my understanding, someone was buried at the center of this pond. I'm not sure if that is true. Mostly stories and no real evidence. Anyhow, my father and I began fishing. I grabbed my small bait caster-sized rod and began to hook a worm to my hook. I used a little red and white bobber. I was the type that wanted to fish away from anyone, as I thought it would raise my chance of catching something. But that day, something caught me. I cast my line in the water and sat down right at the edge of the water with my feet slightly in it. I felt like a man with my rubber boots, like my old dad. After about 20 minutes or so, I noticed my bobber going under and back up. So, I decided to set my hook. As I tugged back, it felt like something big was on the line. I tugged and reeled, tugged harder and reeled, but my line wouldn't let go. It was stuck on something. At this point, my father was on the other side of the mound, out of my sight. So, in big boy fashion, I decided to walk into the water to see if I could tug on it in a different direction, possibly freeing my line. I'm about 4 feet in the water at this point, just at the edge of my knee-high boots. I'm not sure if this makes sense, but I felt like it was what I was supposed to do. Finally, after tugging my line even harder, it was freed as if nothing was on it in the first place, and even my worm was still hanging on the hook. Feeling proud, I decided to walk out of the water. My left foot slipped on a rock in the water. I brought my right foot forward to catch my balance, and a smaller stone dug itself into my shin. It hurt like hell. As I realized what just happened, I got to pull my left leg forward. I couldn't. I felt like my foot was being pulled back. I struggled trying to pull my leg forward, even spinning around with the bum, now in the water. I started to scream and holler, yelling for my father, and it was on deaf ears. It was almost like I was in a vacuum. I'm being pulled into the water by something. I didn't feel hands or anything on my foot, just my leg was not free, and I was gradually going further into the water. I was yelling bloody murder at this point, and after about 20 seconds of fighting and yelling, whatever had my foot let go. I was soaked and horrified. I ran to my father screaming, bleeding from my leg profusely, and in some sort of shock. While yelling, I asked my father, "Why didn't you come when I was screaming?" My father, now shaking because of my reaction, "Son, I didn't hear any screaming. I couldn't see you from the side." I'm calming down a little bit at this point, and I ask him again. His reply was the same. "I didn't hear you, son." After showing my father and explaining what happened to me, like most parents would, he just shrugged it off as my imagination. I never fished on that property again. No one believes this happened, and trust me, this is something that sounds outlandish. I'm not here to convince anyone, just to share my story, and hopefully connect with people who may have had something similar happen to them.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another great story. If you want more just like that, head on over to his YouTube channel, Swamp Dweller, and you can listen to thousands of stories just like that for free. Let's bring in Sweet Robbie G. Sweet Robbie G, thanks for coming on in. And I know you've been keeping tune on what's going on in the UFO world and everything that's kind of been going crazy this past number of days here. Just your thoughts on overall. I mean, what's going through that big brain of yours?
Man, I don't know where to start. I'm still trying to sift through the information. Things are just coming out by the day. It's insane. You looked at the momentum that we had ending off 2024, and you felt like it had to carry into 2025. The drone thing is still unresolved, so I knew that was going to be the thing to kick everything off. And then look, we have these unexpected treats to look forward to this week. It's amazing. Some of the things that might happen, but Jeremy Corbell did kind of hype up the UFO hearings as it was going to be, a moment in time that changed everything. And it didn't quite live up to that. So I'm a little reluctant to kind of jump all the way in with this until we let this come out and flesh itself out.
Yeah, Jeremy Corbell is everywhere right now. And for a lot of people, he's taken a lot of heat from many others. He's saying, let's follow what this guy is trying to tell us. I mean, he has a special coming out. It's now out on Tubi TV. It's a 3-part series put together by, I believe, TMZ, who has done this. And one of the things that he's saying is that the government is lying to everybody about this subject, claiming that in the 1970s this idea was thought out and drawn out about a giant UFO making its way to Earth. And it's supposed to get here sometime between 2025 and 2035, or 2027 and 2035, whatever it may be. And many people who've come out from the government side on this have claimed that this is what we're preparing for. This is what it's all about. And Corbell, has got up in front of the podium and basically said, it's a lie. It's a, I guess a better term would be to say this is a false flag UFO event that is going to harm a lot of people. And now I haven't, for the record, seen the entire interview. I've just seen clips of this that have been floating around X. I do want to get into that probably this coming weekend and really dive deep into what was said and why he's saying the things he is. But he's getting a lot of detractors on this, as a lot of his things usually do.
Yeah, I think his heart is in the right place. I have a lot of respect for Jeremy Corbell. I just want to start there. And but sometimes I think without things being flushed fully out, where we know details that he might know in the background, but is not able to kind of say at this moment, I think kind of leaves us with the picture that isn't quite full. And by that being the case, and I guess it's just one of the caveats of being a person in the know, and a quote unquote journalist is what he calls himself currently. So I guess some of the he'll find himself in situations where he is making statements that he can't fully vouch for, or he can't fully produce evidence for, because of the position that he's in. So I understand that. However, I would just be a little reluctant to dive all the way in, just based off of the hype that was put behind that last hearing. If he hadn't done that, I'd still be with him. But it kind of, he turned me off a little bit as far as, looking at him as the go-to guy when the UFO hearing, for me at least, didn't live up to the hype. Yes, there were definitely some great things that came out of it, but it didn't live up to the hype that he was personally promoting. And like you said, there's a few clips floating around, which I want to dive into as well, where he talks about the government is essentially preparing a huge lie, which is what you were just stating, something that had happened in the 70s. Apparently, they may have discovered a craft that was making its way towards planet Earth, and that it's set to be here right around 2027. And I'm a dates guy, where I don't really like to hang on dates. So that was another thing about what was said that kind of has me standoffish for the moment, because I just don't see unless extraterrestrials are directly in contact with the government and whoever these people are that are kicking out these dates, then I really don't know how anyone could even fix their mouth to put a date out. Granted, he's saying that this is going to be a big lie, but Greer's been saying that the whole time. So if I'm Corbell, maybe I don't provide that information, and because it all falls under the idea that Stephen Greer has been promoting all these years, which is the false flag invasion. So if I'm him, I let that play out. And if it is, then maybe we discuss it at the time that it's happening. But I don't see the benefit in even bringing it up right now. Like, what do you see an angle on that? Because I don't see an angle on that.
This is what I have learned behind the scenes of Jeremy Corbell. I know he is a dogged researcher on this subject. And I do know from multiple sources that he has connections that are very deep within the Pentagon. Now, from what I have heard, one of his sources that he has is being looked for. Now, whether this is true or not, I'm just passing on the information. I don't know. And Jeremy Corbell continues to be this guy's way of leaking information out to the public. Now, there are only apparently so many people who have access to this information. And the number that I was hearing was about 300 people. And they're trying to figure out of those 300 people who may be giving Jeremy these videos and so on and so forth. Now, it sounds very cloak and dagger. It sounds too good to be true. You know, a little ominous, a little bit of Jason Bourne type of action. Whether that is true or not, I don't know. And it does make sense, though, if you follow up with Lou Elizondo with what he said to Corbell, issuing Corbell a warning that he is being watched, and he potentially, Elizondo said he could be on a hit list because he's providing too much information. Now, was that for television or was that for something that is very real? I don't think we'll really know. But Corbell is we know Corbell is upset because of what happened at the last hearings, where his name was not put on or given credit for the paperwork that one of the panelists was given. That panelist got credit for Corbell. He was very upset about that. And he was, he's somebody who just, I think, wants a lot of credit for this, but his actions speak for himself. He's also taken a lot of criticism about a lot of the videos that he's released, on whether or not it's helicopters and bokeh instead of triangles in night vision cameras. He took a lot of heat for the jellyfish video. He took a lot of heat for the latest video that came out. So he's a very controversial person in this field, and he has the mental strength to not care. And I think that's what bugs a lot of people in the UFO UAP world, is that he just doesn't care. He's in it, he's digging, and he's doing the dirty work. He must be doing something right if George Knapp continues to follow him. If you're a fan of George Knapp, like I am, and if George has put his trust in him, maybe that's something we need to do as well. But the controversy continues around him.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, there was someone that put out a theory on why he may have even presented the information, because on the surface, we've heard stories of, potential extraterrestrial mothership that's supposedly on its way to Earth is going to arrive here by a certain time. So when you look at it on the surface, it's like, well, why would he just kind of, regurgitate that information? And someone kind of laid it out. I don't remember what show I was watching, but they kind of pointed to the fact that maybe what Corbell is doing, because during this clip that is floating around that everyone has seen, Corbell says, I don't really want to say this information, because if I do, then they'll just move the goal line essentially and change things about it that will make it seem like I'm untrue. And the producer went ahead and he asked him a couple times, "Are you sure you want me to tell you this?" And so I guess he says yes, because he essentially says that there's this alien craft coming, and supposedly 2027 is supposed to be a date that it should be arriving here, and this is going to be a big lie. And then he goes further to say, this they could change everything about what I'm saying to make it look like I didn't know what I was talking about. Someone pointed out that maybe a reason why he was doing
Rob, lose me on the audio there. Your audio is getting real scratchy. I apologize.
Okay. Can you hear me better?
Yeah, you sound clear now. Sorry about that.
Okay, no, it's my setup. So 2027, but someone pointed out a theory that maybe he's doing this to show those in those back programs that he knows what he's talking about, and kind of to scare them or put them in a position to kind of deal with him on a different level. And that may lead into the fearing for his life sort of situation. And he's kind of showing them, hey, I have, tidbits of information that is true and verifiable. And, and I'm essentially doing this on the big stage. So that was a good, way to look at it. And I'm like, okay, well, that would make sense if that's why he's doing it. But it's too soon to know. I mean, we only have clips floating around. The interview isn't out, and I'm kind of waiting to see what happens there.
I'm waiting to see what happens there too. And, one thing that I'm always cognizant of is trying to bring, both perspectives of it. But I mean, Jeremy Corbell, he's dogged. Love him or hate him, he's dogged. And that's about it.
And truthfully, I like I said, I give Jeremy his praise because he tends to, over the years, come forth with information in a moment when it's needed. So he's like holding on to this information. He releases it strategically. And so I can give him that. And I'm really, really hoping that, this is more of that this is calculated, this is well thought out, and that that he gets the results that he's going after. And I don't know if it's related because it's too early to tell. We all of a sudden have all these other whistleblowers coming out. So, is this all part of a move, a strategic move from our side to kind of get this push further? Because when I look at the scoreboard, it feels to me like humanity is up 10 to 1 in the final quarter of the game. It's like we've really taken a lead here. And it's really, I'm feeling optimistic about what may come from the things that we just don't know yet.
Oh, I would agree with you on that. We got just under 2 minutes to go here. Sweet Robbie G in for an hour-long conversation about the week that was in ufology, because it was strange and it was crazy. Moving on from Jeremy Corbell I want to talk to you about Sky Canada. Now, Sky Canada released a 16-page preliminary report on what is happening north of the border, and it has nothing to do with hockey, so you're going to be okay with this conversation, Rob. Okay.
Ooh, cool.
Even though I'm going to surprise you with your own hockey stick in Las Vegas when we're there. I am. And I'm even going to autograph it for you, just for the sake of it.
No.
Hang it on your wall. Be one of your big treats. But are you surprised that this didn't get more play? Are you surprised that not a lot of people are actually talking about it? I mean, everything when it comes to UFOs seems to be jam-packed with information. Do you think that it's being ignored because it came out the same day Ross Coulthart had broken the name of the new whistleblower? There's a lot going on here, man, that it's just been like swept under the rug like it doesn't even exist. And I even had one of my sources in Canada say to me, where's all the play on this? Where's all the press? And I had to say to him, I don't know. I'm really surprised by it. And Rob, I want your answer for that when we get back from the break. Okay, because we do have to go to our final break. Sweet Robbie G is at the top of the hour. A busy week in ufology. We're breaking it all down for you on Spaced Out Radio.
This is Spaced Out Radio, and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear.
All right.
How are
Yeah,
you?
you got to fill me in on the Sky Canada thing. What was going on there? I heard you talk about it earlier in the week, but
Sky Canada was the Canadian preliminary UFO report. It's 16 pages long.
okay. And what were the bullet points?
The bullet points were, yes, the phenomena is happening. Yes, we need to set it up. We need a centralized agency, pretty much the same as Arrow. They didn't talk about the threat narrative. It was a very boring report, to be blunt. I expected more, but we got what we got, and at least it's a start, right?
Yeah. I mean, as long as people are talking about it, that's the big thing. As long as people who previously weren't talking about it now are, I think that's the plus there.
Well, we'll talk about that more when we come back, brother.
Yep, for sure. For sure.
I don't know if I'm hungry or not.
No, you're not. You're not. It's a figment of your imagination.
Probably is.
Yeah, I had to tell myself that too, because I was out on the town earlier today, and someone had some garlic wings, and it smells so good, and I was like, do I really? I don't really want that. No, I don't really want that.
You know what I have sitting upstairs in my fridge right now?
What is that?
Timmy James' wife owns a tea house in Ganachery, and she has these absolutely incredible homemade Mexican chicken wraps.
Mm-hmm.
They're to die for. Absolutely to die for. Patricia Monna, thank you for coming on in. Appreciate you and your long hair.
Yeah, she was awesome. She was awesome.
She was
Patricia.
great.
Yeah.
She was great.
And she said the moon landing didn't happen.
I know.
And I just applaud people who are brave enough to come out and say that.
I think Patricia was on her best behavior tonight because right near the end, she was very conspiratorial. And I kind of liked that side of her. It caught me off guard. I wasn't prepared for that.
Well, I've done some looking into the moon landing myself, and there are good talking points on the why it happened, things you could point to, and there are a lot of things you could point to for why it did not happen, why it absolutely did not happen. So depends on where you fall at there, but there's a lot of obfuscation here with the government, a lot of lying. And from NASA, right? We look at the two entities that have lied to us for the last 100 years, and should we believe that we went to the moon? Shouldn't we, even if we believe them, shouldn't we make them prove it? Like, show us some proof. You know what I mean? Like the burden of proof, because since what was that? We landed in 1969, so. Ever since then, they've just been lying about everything else. So maybe that's a lie too. Maybe that's a rabbit hole we could jump down.
Maybe. Let's do that after the show.
Yeah. I have to build a show about it to make it look better for TV. Tomorrow says, Paul DeMont says the Soviets would have called us out. I did a really complete show. You guys should really go watch it. I put a lot of time into that show. And I point out all that stuff you're talking about, Paul DeMond, why it makes sense and why it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Tomas man held a moon rock in my hand, enough proof for me. Actually, I'll give you this tidbit. During the show, I pointed out how some of the countries we gave moon rocks to have found out recently in the last 10 years that those rocks were not moon rocks, that they were fake. So likely the moon rock you held to my man was also a fake moon rock.
All right, Rob, we got 30 seconds before we're coming back on air. I got 4 questions for you. Quickly here.
Yep.
Chiefs or Texans?
Chiefs.
Bills or Ravens?
Bills.
Commanders or Lions?
I have no clue who they. Commanders.
Rams or Eagles?
I hate to say it. Rams. Going with Rams.
All right. We're coming back in 5 seconds here. Hey, Lex Diaz, how you doing? Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Sweet Robbie G is here. Talk about the week that was in ufology because it was a busy week. We gotta talk about it. All right. Reminder to all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Now, right before the break, Sweets, I was asking you about why do you think the Canadian report, the Sky Canada project, isn't getting any press at all? It's like the UFO world has absolutely ignored it. And I think I have a reason for that. Because the same day that was released, Ross Coulthart comes out with Jake Barber, whistleblower helicopter pilot who allegedly picked up an egg from Mork from Ork. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm looking at this and I just feel like being here in the States, and maybe this is something that you don't get to see much, but we don't get a lot of Canadian news down here as much as you might think. We just don't. So things that are big news in Canada just don't make the airwaves here in the United States for whatever reason. And it could be simply that. But then if you couple that with something as big as this guy, Jake Barber, if his story is to be true, this guy could be what they call a first tier guy. So a guy that actually retrieved these craft, the smoking gun, the thing that the world has been asking for. So I mean, you couple it against that, and you really probably don't have a good chance in that news cycle. And if it lives up to what it's going to be or what they're reporting is going to be, they're saying that potentially. And I don't want to promote this too much because it airs during the time we do. Well, no, it's right before after hours, but I don't want you guys to miss the after hours. But purportedly during the broadcast, they're supposed to show footage of the retrieval of this craft. That's what is being said. Ross Coulthart has confirmed that on X and another person as well who has to do with the program. It could be big. Tomorrow could be a huge day. I'm really waiting to see what they bring forth. And someone made a point is it has to be great footage. It can't be what is that? Or I could kind of get or see what that is. It needs to be something beyond a doubt in order for it to be as effective as it needs to be. And but they say they have it and they're going to show this tomorrow. So it could be a whole new day as far as this goes tomorrow.
And the one thing about that video, and I'll agree with you on that. If this video comes up grainy or it impedes anything about that alleged craft, then that is going to cause a lot of issues. And this has the potential to be really big, or it has the potential to be egg, pun intended, all over ufology's face again. And I'm tired of the eggs, pun intended. Yeah. Okay. So for people who are wondering what the video is, it's allegedly the helicopter pilot and his crew, Jake Barber is the gentleman's name, who gets called to a crash retrieval site, thinks it's an airplane when he's going in to get it, and then realizes as he's picking up, this object is like an egg-shaped object, and they are tethering it from about 150 feet and bringing it up and then taking it to a base. He doesn't mention in the clip where he took it. I would be very interested to find out where they took it. But I'm also hearing, Rob, behind the scenes, I had someone contact me and was saying, this is a joke. And I said, how is this a joke? And this person basically said, this guy's full of it because many of us know what that technology is. Now, that's the easy way out. I don't know. That's my answer to this. I don't know. So many skeptics are quick, and of course the typical ones out there, whether it's Stephen Greenstreet, whether it's Mick West, they're all over this like everything, right? They're all over it, debunking whatever this guy is, all right? And I don't know what it is. Many people have claimed to see these egg-shaped objects. Are they ours? Are they theirs? I don't know.
So that's what I was talking about when we were on with Lorian the other day. I think we have to get to a point to where let's think this through logically. What is the likelihood that human beings have created any sort of anti-gravitic craft? What is the likelihood? What is literally the actual likelihood that we have done that? And I don't think it's that high. And I don't know why we're so many in the community or even skeptics as well are quick to lean on that, because we don't have any proof that has ever been the case. We don't have, besides some statements that some people have made. And if you want to look at that, that's the same as the statements that those making ufology about seeing alien craft. Sometimes it's just the word, but in other cases, it's at least photographs and proof of, some of the things that are being seen. On the government reverse engineered part, I always point to this.
We've lost your audio, Rob. You clicked on out. But I think you bring up, as we're waiting for you to fix your audio there, I think what you're saying is, if I could respond to that, I don't think we really have a clue what the government is hiding. I don't think we have a clue on what is truly going on. We don't know what they're hiding at places like Wright-Patterson Air Force Base or Area 51. We have no clue, but there are famous cases, and thank you, D. Saifa, in the chat room for bringing this up. Lonnie Zamora's case was like an egg-shaped craft as well, back in the 1950s. Would that mean that we had that technology back in the 1950s? Or was it something else? That's the problem that we have. Are we copycatting what these crash retrieval programs have found? We don't know. But we also don't know what they have tested on many of these secret bases with any type of flight capabilities. I mean, look, if we went back even 30 years ago, before the B-1 bomber came, we would be looking at the B-1 bomber that has no tail fins on it as something of a UFO type craft, because nothing that shape had ever, as far as we know, flown before. So what was it? And this is the problem: is we don't know what they have in their secret boxes at these secret airports. Rob, I think I'm getting something from you there.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you there.
Okay. Yeah, no, you're making a great point. I was actually going to say that. I was going to touch on that This egg shape has been talked about forever. You could even say this is Tic Tac shape. You could even call this flying butane tank shape. And this does go back to the 50s and 60s. And there is no way in the world that we reverse engineered anything at that point. So I think we need to differentiate between the what we realistically have done as human beings, what we have realistically created in these black projects, and because I think there's a lure of secrecy there that you can always speculate what they might have done. And I don't think they've done it. Bob Lazar says they haven't done it. And if you believe Bob Lazar, which I do, Bob Lazar says they haven't done it. As recently as 2016, he said they haven't figured it out. Lukatsky has come out on Weaponized and said the same thing. So where do we have any evidence that we have ever cracked the code on this? And I don't think we have. So if we were to logically look at that, we could probably take man-made out of the option, which only leaves alternatives.
Well, let me ask you this. We had two whistleblowers come out, one after the other, within 24 hours. Randy Anderson and then Jake Barber. If you were to look at both of their cases, Randy Anderson, a former Green Beret, okay, coming out about seeing things, and then Jake Barber claiming that he picked one up, who do you believe more?
Right now, I'm going with Jake Barber. Right now, I'm team Jake Barber because we know these crash retrieval teams are out there. We know they're Johnny on the spot. We know that they're there moments after these things reportedly crash. And he has talked about not only retrieving alien craft, but also black projects, top secret craft. So there's a differentiation in his mind and his eyes on what is what. So to have his point of view being that he has retrieved both, I think he would be one to be able to say, you know, if we have reverse engineered something or not, and you know, if this egg was alien or not. And I think, I would lean more on Jake Barber out of the two.
See, I'm not too sure. I haven't figured out which one I would believe more as of right now. You know, I think the names are just so new. And when I go for an investigation like this and I'm looking into these people, I'm looking into not only their reputation, I'm not paying attention to the people who are ultra believers, and I'm not paying attention to the ultra skeptics, because somewhere in the middle is that truth. And this is something that, you know, I tried to do. Am I successful with it? I would like to think I am, but am I wrong at times? Of course, I'm human.
Right.
I think what would be the difference on this for me, and I would side with you, with Jake Barber on this. Okay, I'm interested in this Jake Barber. If his crew, because there was a crew of 3 on that helicopter, if his crew comes out with the same testimony that he has, I don't think they've sat in a room and practiced it. What they were going to say, whether or not they come out or not. Now, the one thing that does have to be confirmed for sure is, did this happen when he was a military helicopter pilot, or did it happen while he was a civilian pilot? There's some confusion over that right now in the UFO world.
I don't know if it matters though, right? Because even if he was civilian, it's almost the same as a contractor, right? Where you can't FOIA anything that he may have been involved with because he's a private citizen or a civilian. So I don't think there's really, I don't think that really holds any water there. Really, it's about his if you can feel the him being genuine in what it is that he's saying, and we'll be able to see that in the interview, how he answers the questions, what it is that he says, what words does he use when he describes what he saw, what is his motivation for coming out and speaking. We know they retrieve crap. That's a fact. So regardless if it's him doing it or if it's a group of other people, there's definitely a person that is operating a helicopter or whatever they use to lift these things up and take them to their destinations. So I think right now there's no reason to not believe what he's saying, and let's kind of hear it out. But if it is what it sounds like it is, and Ross Coulthard, so he doesn't have egg on his face. I'm sure he has looked into this before putting this interview together. I give Ross that much credit in the work that he does. He has likely done this. So we'll see. But if it's anything like David Grush times 10, which is what it sounds like, it should be groundbreaking tomorrow.
Well, the big thing is, does his crew come out? Because there is rumors that they are planning on coming out as well. I hope they do. But even if they thought, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a second, Rob, even if they thought, those three in that helicopter thought that it was a UFO, Barber's come out saying that he doesn't believe that it was, that he saw any sort of propulsion system. You're doing this at night. Yes, you're only 150 or 150 feet from it because that's the length of your cable. When you landed with it, did you get a chance to go up to it and see it? I don't think he did. So even though it may look like alien technology, doesn't mean that it's not ours. Now, the difference is he apparently was told by two members of the UAPTF that it was in fact some sort of non-human technology. Does that play in? Can they get that report from the UAPTF? Or is people lying to try and throw them off because the U.S. government has prior claimed that things being seen around Area 51 are UFOs, when in reality it's testing new and updated technologies that we have?
I will point to it once again. We have only had man flight for 120 years, and not great man flight for the first part of that, for a great good portion of that time. Look, just using your logic, the common sense that God gave you, and the fact that this guy, if he's doing all these retrievals, if the craft that if he's picking up an egg, it doesn't have wings, it doesn't have any discernible means of propulsion or lift or any of those things. So you would have to assume at that point that we have created something along those lines, but there just isn't any proof of it. And I don't know if the time frame allows for that. I don't know if in 100 years, I'll give 100 just to be generous, but it's probably less than that we would have even had the will and the minds to be able to even start to think about how to reverse engineering. Probably 80 years. You really think that we have developed it, built it, and are testing it within 80 years of just, I don't, logic doesn't make me feel that way, but there's still a slight chance that it is, but there's too many things pointing against the fact that we have reverse engineered it. I haven't seen any proof. If someone has it, show us, and then we can look at this a different way. But until then, the extraterrestrials do have the tech. We don't. So I don't know, man.
Well, I'm going to change topics here for the next couple of minutes, if you don't mind, because we are getting ready to end the show. Because I have something important that I want to say, and it's personal. 26 years ago today, I became a father. My baby girl turned 26 today.
Oh, happy birthday, lady.
And I'll tell you, man, like any parent, you have your ups and your downs with your child. And my daughter, I am so proud of her. Yes, we've had our ups and downs. Yes, there's been times when she didn't think I was a good dad, and I didn't think she was a good daughter. But you know what? That love, man, of watching your child become successful and follow their passions and their dreams and everything that goes along with that. I am just so damn proud to be able to say that that's my daughter.
That is
And
awesome.
and I told her that today. And as I think any parent does, about how proud we are of our children. And I will never forget when she was born, because she was born 6 weeks early, or 5 weeks early, pardon me. She was only 5 pounds 13 ounces, which is weird because now I'm haunted by the number 513. I see it everywhere. So weird. And I remember looking down after this emergency C-section, and they had her under this rack that had a heater on it because she had fluid in her lungs. And the nurse looks over to me and she goes, "First time dad, eh?" I went, "Yeah. How do you know?" And she laughs and she says to me, "You can touch her. She's not going to break." So I took my finger and I rubbed the top of her hand. And I said, "Hi, I'm your daddy." That was my first words to her. And I just wanted to say happy birthday to my baby girl who turned 26 today. Dad loves you and is so proud of you. And you've done well, and I can't wait to see what your future holds. And on that note, sweet Robbie G, thank you for stepping on in. As we say, rocket in the background with little brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Rocking, sitting down, bringing the show. Get your horns up to the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat room tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAT, Facebook, Stream, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on X, the hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SLR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friend,
make a mistake. We're watching.
Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. All right. What are we doing?
Yeah, so Dave, so you sing happy birthday to all your viewers, but you're not going to sing for the baby girl?
Oh, I sung twice to her today already.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah. But yeah, man, she was pretty awesome. Pretty damn awesome.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. And she's at that age where she is, like you talked about, the ups and downs that just parents and their children go through, growing pains and who knows best and all that good stuff. And there comes a time where a child gets to that age where they fully realize, the good that you've done all this time, right? and they really get to appreciate you. You know what I mean? I think that's about the age where that kicks in for a lot of people. It's like 25, 26. So this is where the fun stuff gets to happen. This is where your best friends and you know, you see things from the same side of the coin. Right?
Oh, I fully agree with you, buddy. Fully agree with you.
It's a beautiful time. Beautiful time.
Yeah.
I think yeah, go ahead.
I think as a dad, and I think you'll understand this, and many of our listeners will. As a dad, you know, you can have a son, and your son is like that's like your little twin. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But a daughter is so much more special. And a daughter, whether they're your biological or maybe a stepchild, like I have a 21-year-old stepdaughter, okay? A daughter just automatically knows from the time they are born that they have you wrapped around their pinky finger. They know. They know a daughter from the second she is born. She knows that she has daddy wrapped around her fingers. And all she has to do is say, daddy, or hey, dad, or whatever. And you fall to mush and basically just open up your wallet and say, what do you need? A son? Get the hell out of here. You know, like, you know, you try and fan them up a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally get it. I totally understand that. That is true. Very true.
I'm going to say this as a compliment, but I bet you are a big pussy to your daughter. Your daughter wants, yeah. Don't even deny it.
I won't be like I'm super softy, although I'm definitely more receptive than to my son. I love my son. I tell him I love him all the time. I kiss him. He's a grown man. I give him kisses and all that stuff. And I'm even more for the girls. So I get it. I get it. Now, can she talk me into anything? Now that she can't do.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, there is a modicum of respect there. But my daughter, all she has to do is, hey, daddy. Oh, God. My son, hey, dad, you know, I get, this is my conversation with my son. Son, how was school today? Good, dad. I farted hard in school today. My daughter, oh, yeah, you know, like, I don't know. I am a wimp to my daughters. Just an
That's
absolute.
cool. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
That is
man.
a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
They deserve that. They're little flowers. Little flowers. So yeah, I'm totally with that. That's awesome. Is she out having a good time tonight?
Yes, she is.
Good. Good for her.
Yeah.
And she should.
It was funny. So I said to her, I called her up yesterday. I said, what do you want for your birthday? And she goes, Dad, the speakers in my vehicle suck. I would really like some new speakers. And her common law boyfriend, I think they're going to get engaged soon. I just have a feeling, and I'm really hoping because he's such a nice kid. Treats my daughter like a queen. And I'm hoping. I'm really hoping. And anyways, he priced her out some speakers. They were like $100 a piece for a car. And she's like, Dad, I'd really like these speakers. Okay. Yep. Not a problem. Because I'm a wimp that way, right? I'm a wimp. Apparently, I'm buying my daughter speakers. So I sent her the money today for her birthday. And she's like, I'm like, can I at least get a picture of the speakers? She goes, yeah, I already ordered them. I'm like, you. I said, I was going to surprise you with those. And she's like, well, I'll send you a picture and you'll see them when I get them. How about that? I'm like, okay. Such a jerk.
Yeah, that's okay. That's good. That's actually really, really good. Really, really good. I got to meet her the one time when you were picking her up, when you were doing your daddy duties,
Oh,
and
this you spoke to the other. Oh no, yeah, you did get to chat with her.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You did late night Jack in the Box run with the daughter on the late night Jack in the Box run.
Oh, the Tim Hortons run.
Okay,
Yeah.
Tim Hortons.
We don't get them
Yeah.
fancy Jack in the Boxes up here in Canada.
Yeah, I did get to meet her. Yeah, that's cool, man. Glad to hear it, man. Glad to she had a great birthday. Glad everything's going good, and glad she has a dad like Dave, right? Just a silly putty.
Oh, since the moment she was born, dude. Moment she was born, and then my other daughter, who blessed me with my grandson, her birthday's next month. And just watching her grow and mature and all that. Oh man, what a freaking pleasure it's been. Just a pleasure.
Yeah, it's all about the kids. It's all about the kids, the grandkids, the great grandkids. That's why we do this, Dave. That's why I do what I do. I do it for them. I do it for everyone's grandkids, everyone's descendants. It's all about them. They inherit this planet after us, and we have to leave it leave them in as great a position as we can to move forward with this thing. And yeah, that's why we do it.
Yeah, well, the only difference between you and me, though, is that at least my kids won't have to suffer through basketball.
Wait. What do you mean by that? Maybe I didn't. What do you mean, Dave?
Well, you hate hockey, right? So I gotta hate. I gotta hate a sport that you love, which is basketball.
Look, it's okay, Dave. Hockey's just not that great. Survey says if you survey the audience tonight, most people in the audience say hockey is not a great sport. That's not just me.
Look, there's a major reason why NHL viewing numbers keep going up and NBA numbers are plummeting like anything right now.
That's true, though. No, you're right. We can go into why that. It's LeBron James, really. But yeah, you're right. NBA numbers are going down, and it's sad. I don't know that hockey numbers are growing up.
Because I'll tell you, the NBA made me a huge fan and killed me as a fan by the way they treated the Vancouver Grizzlies.
What did they do? They shipped them out? Where'd they go?
Well, they lied to the city of Vancouver. They brought in an owner that said he was going to keep the team there, stands up, allows him to stand up and sing "O Canada" to the Vancouver audience, and 2 weeks later, goes to the podium saying, I love Vancouver. I'm never moving this team. And then 2 weeks later announces, or 3 weeks later announces he's moving the team to Memphis.
Right. Yes.
The NBA did nothing for the city of Vancouver. The players didn't want to play here, which was funny because they complained about the rain, but then they would say, well, I would play in Seattle. The players would complain about the education system, and yet all NBA players, when they come to Canada, all athletes are paid in American dollars here because that's part of the collective bargaining agreement for any sports league. So it'd be Major League Baseball, it would be hockey, and NBA. David Stern actually, right before he retired, said his biggest regret was failing Vancouver. He said that was the biggest regret that he had in his NBA career. And I'm really surprised, especially with how ethnically diverse Vancouver is. I'm really surprised that they haven't brought a team back. But whether it was drafting Steve Francis, who literally was pouting about going to Vancouver, they made mistakes. Like Lamar Odom wanted to come to Vancouver really, really badly. Wanted Vancouver to draft him. They end up taking Steve Francis. Mike Bibby, it took him a while to warm up to the city once his mama cracked him in the side of the head and basically said, "You're going to the NBA. You'll be happy to play anywhere, even if it is Vancouver." But I mean, they made the players and everybody kind of made Vancouver like it was in Siberia. You have one of the you're literally living in one of the uh, voted on as one of the top 20 most beautiful cities in the world. In the world.
Yeah.
And you're treating it like it's, you know, you got stationed to play basketball for Team Kandahar. You know,
I'll tell you part of what it is. It's that is really Vancouver is really Seattle North.
Yeah.
The Northwest, the Pacific Northwest, is not a desired destination here in the United States. It's a cool place. It's beautiful as well, very, but it's not a destination for a lot of people here. So that's kind of part of what it is. They kind of got the Seattle, the whole stigma of Seattle on Vancouver. That's what that was. But I'll tell you what, I feel your pain because I'm a Sacramento King, and we went through that in 2013, somewhere around there, where the Maloofs were trying to strong arm us and move our team from Sacramento. They were trying to move into Seattle. They tried to move it down to Los Angeles, then Las Vegas. And then David Stern stepped in and said, nope, you guys are going to sell the team, and we're going to keep the team right where it's at, not moving anywhere. And then we signed a 30-year deal with the city of Sacramento and all in its history. But so I know what you guys were going through with that. And it's horrible, horrific, heart-wrenching. And yeah, believe me, I know.
But one thing I don't understand, though, about NBA players, even when I covered the NBA, okay, I've talked to professional football players, baseball players, hockey players, and I will say this: for the most part, I would say that football players are the nicest guys in professional sports, and hockey a close second. Everybody talks about hockey being, having the nicest guys and all that. It depends where the player is from. Right? Hey, Supernova, we have no issue, dude. We have no issue whatsoever, man. Every now and again, people are going to clash. There's no issue with you, bro. No issue. But the one thing, baseball, I didn't appreciate the attitude of baseball players, but NBA players were the worst to deal with. Absolute worst. For attitude, for arrogance, for everything. Like I loved watching basketball live. I thought it was incredible. I mean, these giant men being able to do what they can do, it's incredible.
Yeah.
But the attitude and the me first attitude, which I think has really been brought on by the LeBron era, where it's become very individualized. Like, I didn't know before covering the NBA that basically when you draft a player, for the most part, you're not just drafting that player, you're drafting their posse and you're drafting their family. And it's tough because that person may not be loyal to any of the players there, but they are completely loyal to their posse and their family. And when you have that many individuals trying to put it together as a team on the court, I think basketball has a problem with that. I mean, when you look at a hockey player or a football player, let's take an NFL quarterback. You look at that NFL quarterback when they do an interview and they throw for 385 yards and 5 touchdowns or 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. That quarterback never takes credit, ever.
Mhm.
The first thing he does is he thanks his O-line for protecting him the entire game, because those guys are beasts. Then he thanks his running back and his receivers, and then he says the defense did a great job in leading us to victory. Never
Mhm.
the minute they lose, the quarterback puts it all on his shoulders.
Yep.
And NBA players, it's all about me. Me, me, me. Show me my money. This is my money. This is my shoe deal. This is now there are exceptions. I would put what's the guy in Golden State? Steph
Steph.
Curry.
Yeah.
I would put him in that category. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I would put who's the big, and I apologize, I don't watch the NBA, but the big guy in Minnesota, their number one guy.
Carl Anthony Towns.
No, he's got the African name, the long African name.
Oh, he's in Milwaukee.
No, I apologize.
Yeah, Antetokounmpo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that guy. You watch him with the fans. He is like if there's a kid wanting an autograph, he gives it. I mean, you look at the Olympics in the past Olympics in Paris, where LeBron wins a gold medal. Kid walks up to him, just asks him for an autograph, and he basically starts yelling at the kid to get the fuck out of his way.
Yeah.
It's a kid. You don't see NFL players do that. You don't see hockey players do that. Not to a kid. You don't see baseball players do that to kids. Adults, it's different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Some people are just assholes, man. It's just what it is. It is not just the sports actors, just people with power and celebrity get ego, and that's where all that comes from. So I don't think it matters if they were playing in some other sport, they would still be that person. So it goes down to the individual, I think, is what it is.
Oh yeah. I would totally agree with you. Totally agree with you on that. And my big thing is this, like just be human. Just be a human. There's no need for it. It's like when we were reporters and we'd walk into a dressing room. Okay, every sport has their quirky players, right? Every sport does. In hockey, it's usually goaltenders. But very rarely when I covered Canadian football or Major League Baseball or hockey would I have somebody treat me like just because I'm a reporter, I'm a second class citizen. NBA, completely different. And we've seen it for years, man. Like the NBA has an attitude problem. And the more the bigger the contracts become, I see that becoming more of an issue.
Well, LeBron has run the NBA for the last 20 years. So you got to think about that. It's been a long time since the NBA has been anything but LeBron's league. And, he's the one that brought in the short contracts, the 2-year contracts, a 2-year deal. And, it does. And I was talking to my brother about that. I was like, those deals don't work for anybody but LeBron. Because you can't. LeBron has been accused of being on steroids and all sorts of stuff, which I think probably he was at some point. There's proof there's things that point to that, and so 2-year deals work for somebody like that, where you can bet on yourself. But a lot of people can't do that in the league, and these 2-year deals, they find themselves in bad spots because they've injured themselves after year one. At the end of year 2, they can't re-sign another deal because, you know what I mean? So it's kind of screwed everything up as far as that goes. But yeah, it's all because of LeBron. We're all going to blame it on LeBron.
I'm going to assume you're not a LeBron fan.
Not really. I mean, he's a great player. He's the greatest, I guess, of this generation. I just don't like him going at Jordan. I just don't like him Like, I don't think how you could ever think you could overtake Michael Jordan. He's the greatest, period. Yeah, there's nothing you could do. You could stay in the league for 40 years and you still won't do it. And I think he knows that now, but he's even becoming a burden to the league at this point, and he still insists on sticking around. And that's when you know you've been around too long. It's time to go. It's time to pack it up. Hopefully he does at the end of this year. We'll see.
Well, I mean, you know what? Hey, man, he had the opportunity to do something very rare. That's be a father-son with Bronny in L.A.
How did you feel about that? Did you like that? You thought that was cool?
For him, yes. I don't think it helps the NBA. I don't see it where it's a benefit to the NBA.
He was very selfish. This is what I think it was. You talking about your son was just in the hospital, cardiac arrest, on the court a year ago. And I don't care what the doctors say after that. I'm going to try, especially if my son is well taken care of. He could do anything in the world that he wants to do. There's no way I will push him down that path or force him down there. I feel like Bronny James has been forced down that path just so LeBron could have this moment. And I think it's just so selfish, dude, because your son was almost taken from you on the basketball court a year ago. And what proof do you have that he could not be in that? And I hope him all the best and wish him all the best. But, you know, who goes back out on the court after something like that? Well, not many people.
You know what? We'll end it at this because we do have to get going here. But just your thoughts. What if LeBron James's name is on that Diddy list?
Oh, man. It's a whole another bag of worms. It was a rumor. That's why he took a break. He was good friends with Diddy. He was on record saying something like, ain't no party like a Diddy party or something like that. So, I don't know. I can't wait till the trial, though. I can't wait till the list comes out. It's really going to expose a lot of people. And on top of that, let's bring out the Epstein list, too, man. Let's bring out all the pedophile lists, right? The PDF file list, because they should be brought out. And we need to know who are on those lists, because then you can make a choice on if you want to deal with those people. You shouldn't want to. And let's know who they are, because they should be exposed. We'll leave it at that.
I agree. I just hope those lists come out. That will really change the entire outlook of the world. It really will. But that's for a different conversation. Robbie, thank you. You got some amazing shows planned for this weekend before we let you go?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I'm on the wire trying to get tomorrow's show together. What I'm planning on doing is I want to watch the Russ Coulthard show. I think it starts at 5 p.m. and I want to be able to talk to that during tomorrow night's show. So still on the fly. I might get a guest. I might just do a recap on whatever the interview is. And then we have the Rabbi will be here on Sunday, who is with the Rail. What are they called? The Raelian Israeli movement. Yeah. So that'll be Sunday. So it should be an awesome weekend. Make sure you guys are all here for that. And business as usual.
Sounds good, buddy. Sounds good. And big thank you tonight to Richard, Human Carl, Aloha Dave, Major Lee, Mama Catherine, and Cosmic Joe for the great super chats. We're going to cut it out tonight. And thank you for a great week, everybody. And we'll keep you up to date through the weekend. I will see you on Monday, where my guest will be. Who's Monday? Dr. Bruce Goldberg. We're talking Mount Shasta and time travelers. How good's that going to be? We'll see you then, everybody. See you, sweets.
Take care.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.